Chapter 420. On the edge of the cliff? Shisui frowned and asked, "Why didn't I see it?" "You are in the situation, so of course you don't see it as clearly as I do," Bordered Soil said calmly. "The crisis of the Uchiha comes from both the clan and the Woodleaf clan." "The clan?" Shisui's eyes were dignified. "It seems that you know a lot of things." Obito didn't express his opinion and just said with a sigh, "Oh, the Uchiha clan is a very emotional clan, therefore, the probability of the Uchiha clan producing geniuses and fools is always much higher than other clans. This is the source of disaster. For example, 7 years ago during the Kyubi rebellion, there were Uchiha elders who suggested to your patriarch to control the Kyubi. They had this stupid idea because they knew that your patriarch Fugaku had awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, and the strength of the Manjikyu recorded in the clan gave them confidence and confidence. How do you know this? Shisui was shocked. This is top secret information in the clan. Even he revealed his Manjikyu Sharingan in front of the patriarch and was promoted to the top. Bordered Soil didn't answer, but continued, "Now, you have also awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, and the genius Uchiha Itachi seems to be showing signs of awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan. If those idiots who can't see the situation know that the Uchiha have 3 pairs of Manjikyu Sharingan, what do you think they will do?" Shisui was silent for a moment, and said bitterly, "The patriarch will not agree with them doing that." Bordered Soil chuckled softly. Public opinion can be manipulated. When most of the Uchiha are dominated by the same voice, what can you do? Use your genjutsu to change their minds? Shisui's eyes suddenly became fierce. "I only told Itachi and the other top clans about my ability. How do you know?" "Who are you?" "Don't be angry, they will tell me, because my name is..." Bordered Soil said calmly, "Uchiha Madara." "Madara?" Shisui was shocked, and then shook his head. "Impossible, Madara was killed by Shodame-sama in the Battle of the Valley of the End." "I did die, but I came back to life," the Bordered Soil said calmly. "You should be able to guess why, Izanagi." It turned out to be Izanagi. Hearing the other party mention the forbidden jutsu of the Uchiha clan, Shisui reluctantly believed it. "Let's get back to the topic." Bordered Soil continued, "In addition to not being able to see the situation clearly, the Uchiha's current situation is also the main reason why they chose to be radical. With Shimizu Garashi around, Danzo doesn't dare to go too far in some things, but correspondingly, Shimizu Garashi can't interfere too much in some small things. Moreover, Naruto's approach has also become much smarter. Now, he rarely takes action himself. Instead, he magnifies the conflict between some villagers and the Uchiha clan and labels some ordinary conflicts as the bullying of civilians. And our Uchiha clan has always been arrogant. They don't know how to restrain themselves or explain themselves, and often complicate some simple things. In the past 4 years, the situation of the Uchiha clan should be a lot more difficult, right?" Shisui was silent for a moment, and couldn't help but complain, "Is that Naruto-sama sick? Why is he targeting the Uchiha clan?" Bordered Soil sneered, "He is doing this just to prove that he is the one who inherited the will of Nidame Naruto. Proving his legitimacy will allow him to gain more support. For this reason, he is wantonly suppressing a member of the village." Shisui sighed with emotion. It is really the misfortune of the village to have such a person become Naruto. After sighing with emotion, Shisui asked again, "You said that the person who can save the Uchiha clan is me. Do you want me to use genjutsu to control him?" "If it was 4 years ago, this might have been effective." Bordered Soil shook his head slightly, "But now, the future of the Uchiha clan is no longer something that can be decided by one Naruto." Shisui frowned. "Then what do you mean?" Bordered Soil took a deep breath and said word by word, "Destroy Woodleaf and re-establish the order of the shinobi world." Shisui was taken aback. "You are crazy, this kind of thing is impossible." Bordered Soil chuckled. "Why is it impossible?" Shisui shook his head. "Let's not talk about how I can destroy Woodleaf by myself, just the existence of Garashi-sama is doomed to fail. No, you can do it, and only you can do it." Bordered Soil said, "Of course, the premise is that you can control a person with genjutsu." "A person?" "A person named Aizen." "Aizen?" Shisui looked at him deeply. I heard that he is a member of the Akatsuki just like you, right? It seems that you know a lot of things after entering the eyes of the higher-ups. Bordered Soil smiled indifferently. It's just that you don't know enough about him. He saved the life of the leader of the Akatsuki, and more than half of the members of the Akatsuki have received his kindness. Many of the plans and decisions of the Akatsuki have also come from his mouth. This man who seems low-key and doesn't have much fame in the ninja world is actually the real core of the Akatsuki. What? That man is actually such a powerful person. Shisui was incredibly shocked and asked, so many people have received his grace, what about you? Bordered Soil's body stiffened, and he changed the topic. That's not important, what's important is. In addition to the Akatsuki, the person who resisted Shimizu Garashi during the 5 Kage tournament 4 years ago is also his friend. In other words, as long as you control Aizen, you control the Akatsuki, and have enough power to resist Shimizu Garashi. In this way, you can do anything you want. Seeing Shisui was silent, Bordered Soil continued. Think about it, people like Shimizu Garashi were forced to leave Woodleaf, people like you who loved the village were suppressed, and people like Danzo who used the village as a tool stole Naruto's position, and people like Mitokado Hamura and Yuditane Koharu stole the top positions. As for the shinobi world, the Raikage used despicable means to plot against the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, but didn't he just let it go after that? The Mizukage carried out a bloody rule in Kirin, and after that, he pushed the blame to a person behind the scenes and got away with it. These rulers are the root of the chaos in the shinobi world. Tell me, what's the use of such an unreasonable order? Right now, the world is a patient. Only by hardening our hearts and getting rid of all the chronic diseases once and for all can we give it a new life. Although there will be some pain in the short term, in the long term, it is absolutely worth it. So, you are not harming the world, but saving it. Chapter 421. Uchiha Madara is an Azura who would kill without saying a word. How can he be so good at talking? Do you think I'm a fool? Shisui thought to himself, but he still pretended to be interested. But I heard that Aizen's genjutsu is very powerful. Although my Kodo Amatsukami is powerful, it might not be able to control him. If it fails, I will have to wait 10 years before I can use it again. Rest assured, I will help you. Seeing Shisui finally take the bait, Bordered Soil's mouth rose slightly under his mask. Wait until I beat Aizen half to death, then he won't be able to resist. Shisui was still a little hesitant. But his genjutsu is very strong, and you said that he has a high position in the Akatsuki. If I fail, it might cause the war to break out ahead of time. His genjutsu is indeed a little troublesome. Bordered Soil nodded in agreement. Aizen's genjutsu was too terrifying. He couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't fall for it. So, I need another ability of yours. Well, it seems that I have no secrets in front of you. Shisui sighed. Only you can use genjutsu in the forbidden field. Bordered Soil clapped his hands. It seems useless, but sometimes it can play an irreplaceable role. Shisui nodded slightly. Both of his abilities were powerful, but also had a lot of restrictions. Kodo Amatsukami directly changed the mind, but it could only be used once every 10 years. The Forbidden Field had a rule that it could only be used on genjutsu. Bordered Soil said. Do you have any other questions? One more thing, why do you want to help me? Shisui asked suspiciously. I don't remember Uchiha Madara being such a helpful person. Bordered Soil said fiercely. I want to prove that Hashirama is wrong. Choosing Woodleaf between me and Woodleaf is absolutely wrong. Shisui's eyes were strange. Why does this Uchiha Madara seem strange? Seeing Shisui's eyes, Bordered Soil sneered. Imagine, if your good friend Itachi killed you for his younger brother, what kind of feelings would you have for his younger brother? Shisui instantly understood. His tone was complex. I think I understand how you feel now. Bordered Soil snorted. That's it. I'll inform you when the time comes. With that, he voided and disappeared from Shisui's sight. After the Bordered Soil left, the forest became quiet again. A moment later, a tall figure walked out from the shadows. "Sigh, it's been hard on you." Shursui knelt on one knee and said in a respectful tone, "Compared to what Lord Garashi has done for Woodleaf, what I have done is only a trivial part." After being modest, Shursui decisively sold out his ancestor. "Lord Garashi, should we chase after them?" Garashi smiled and said, "Don't worry, this is my clone. My main body has already gone over. Well, I hope Lord Ancestor won't be beaten to a pulp." After a moment of silence for his ancestor, Shursui put him to the back of his mind. After all, Garashi-sama allowed him to enter the Akatsuki through this route, so naturally, he can't kill the person who claims to be his ancestor. "Garashi-sama, should I use my ability on Aizen?" Garashi pondered. "If he can defeat Aizen, then it's not a loss to use your ability on him, but in my opinion, his chances are not high." Shursui was surprised. Even if his genjutsu is sealed, he's still not Aizen's opponent. 4 years ago, during the 5 Kage tournament, this masked man used would release, coupled with the space ability just now, his strength shouldn't be too weak. Garashi nodded with a dignified expression. "Although Aizen isn't famous, he's someone who can make me feel fear." Shursui couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. To be able to make Garashi-sama afraid, it seems that Aizen must be very terrifying. Garashi added, "If that person who claims to be Uchiha Madara succeeds, then my worries will be solved. Even if he fails, the Akatsuki will be divided, but for you, it's too dangerous. Well, I will imprint the Flying Thunder God Jutsu on your body, and then give you a note with the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. If you encounter any danger, tear the note, and I will immediately use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to rush over." Shursui's heart warmed, but he firmly refused. "No, that Aizen is a terrible enemy that even you are afraid of. If I summon you, won't you be in danger?" Don't worry." Garashi laughed. "Although I'm afraid, I should be a little stronger than him. Well, just like the person who stopped me during the 5 Kage tournament 4 years ago, I'm also afraid of him." Shursui suddenly understood. "So, Garashi-sama's fear is just that he won't be beaten to death?" "I understand. In short, your safety is the most important thing," Garashi said and directly left using the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. After Garashi left, Shursui thought about the ancestor who might be beaten, and his eyes were firm. "Don't blame me, ancestor, although what you said is very tempting. I really don't want to believe a person who doesn't even dare to show his face. Moreover, the person who can save the Uchiha is not me, but Garashi-sama." After leaving Woodleaf's range, Bordered Soil retreated from the virtual state and thought, "Don't blame me, Aizen, although I am grateful that you told me about the Edo Tensei, but who told you to block my way?" Originally, he and Black Zetsu didn't want to attack Aizen. After all, that man is too mysterious, and there are very few records of him taking action, so attacking him would be a big risk. But after learning about Shursui's ability, they couldn't help but think. Because the benefits of controlling Aizen are too great. Just like what he said, Aizen is the real core of the Akatsuki. If they can control Aizen, they can make the Akatsuki work for them, and return their plan to the original plan of using the identity of Uchiha Madara as the mastermind behind the Akatsuki, instead of using the identity of hoodlum to act like a fool. Moreover, even if they fail, it doesn't matter, anyway, they have already planned to drag the Akatsuki into the mud, so it doesn't matter if they fall out sooner or later. Now, it doesn't matter anymore. At this moment, a voice sounded in front of him. "Akatsuki?" Bordered Soil was scared by this voice, and subconsciously wanted to use the virtual state to escape. Because he recognized the voice of his senpai. Not only because of his senpai's strength, but also the feeling of being caught doing something bad. This is different from the time in the Kirin village, when he was talking to his senpai, he didn't feel anything, but now, there is only a mask between them. "I am Uchiha Madara, I am Uchiha Madara." Bordered Soil forced himself to calm down and asked calmly, "So it's the god of shinobi, why, do you want to catch me?" However, Garashi's words made him lose his composure. "Do we know each other?" Chapter 422. Bordered Soil felt his scalp go numb. "What's going on?" Is he going to expose himself? Although he claims to have given up on human emotions, deep in his heart, he still hopes that they can retain a good impression of his identity as bordered soil. The ones who do evil are hoodlum or Uchiha Madara. Bordered soil is already dead. Just as Zhang Heng's mind was in a mess, he heard Shushi say, "Just by hearing my voice, the look in your eyes changed many times." That kind of complicated emotion is not something a stranger can express. So it's my eyes. Yes, Senpai is the person who founded the Psychology Society. The changes in my eyes can't be hidden from him. Thinking of this, bordered soil forced himself to calm down, and his eyes no longer fluctuated. It's strange that I can remain calm in front of a monster like you, isn't it? However, Shushi let out a long sigh. You're someone I know. You're someone who once joined the Psychology Society, right? Only they know how to hide their eyes in front of me. Bordered soil felt like he was struck by lightning. It's over. Senpai must have deliberately tested him. Sure enough, compared with a real genius like Senpai, even if he has been behind the scenes for so many years, the difference in mentality and IQ is too big. He is completely at the level of being played by Senpai. You. Who the hell are you? Hearing Senpai's question, bordered soil subconsciously closed his eyes. He was worried that if he opened his eyes again, all the details would be exposed. Fortunately, I switched my Mangekyo back to the ordinary 3-tomo state when I exited the virtual state. Otherwise, if Senpai saw that the Mangekyo pattern in my eyes is the same as that bastard Kakashi's, wouldn't I be exposed? Garashi continued, I know all the people who came out of the ninja school, and I don't think anyone can hide their strength in front of me, so you are most likely someone who died in a mission or war, right? Of course, I am more inclined to think that you are a companion who died in a war, because it is difficult to keep a complete body in a war. Missing for more than a certain period of time will be regarded as a death in a war. Although there are many people who are missing, it can always narrow down the scope again. Enough, don't say any more. Bordered soil roared, I'm Shimura Danzo. No, I have nothing to do with Shimura Danzo. Don't think too much about it. I've never asked anyone to collect the contents of the Psychology Society. With that, he closed his eyes and used void form to escape. Garashi had a strange expression on his face. Even bordered soil had mastered the skill of shifting the blame. Abito, who only wanted to escape, kept using void form until he escaped back to the underground base of the country of grass. Only then did he stop. Phew. You're finally back. Wait, senior. Only then did he realize what was going on. Oh no, if senior follows behind us, won't the base be exposed? Bordered soil looked around and released his perception. After confirming that Garashi had not chased after him, bordered soil relaxed, but his mood also worsened. His kamui was mainly void form and teleportation. Although he could use it to travel, he could only teleport a few kilometers at most. This distance should still be within the range of Senpai's perception. But Senpai did not even chase after him, as if he was deliberately letting him go. Could it be that Senpai has already guessed my identity? Thinking of this, bordered soil had an inexplicable fear of social death, and then he shook his head fiercely. So what if he recognizes me? Humph. I'm already an emotionless. Bordered soil. Ah. Seeing bordered soil scared witless by this voice, Black Zetsu was confused. What's wrong with you? What emotionless? Seeing that it was Black Zetsu, bordered soil sighed in relief, and then he explained in frustration, it's over, Senpai seems to have recognized me. What? Black Zetsu was more excited than him. What's going on? How did he recognize you? Bordered soil's heart was in a mess, and he didn't care about Black Zetsu's strangeness. He just told him everything that happened today. After listening to bordered soil's story, Black Zetsu's face was gloomy. Damn it, I just relaxed a little and it became like this. Because of Garashi's phobia, unless he had no other choice, he generally did not enter Woodleaf. Therefore, he did not act with bordered soil this time. Bordered soil asked with hope in his eyes, Black Zetsu, do you think that the last words I left behind could make Senpai mistakenly think that I am Danzo? If your dojutsu can pull the opponent's intelligence to the same level as yours, maybe it's possible to succeed. Black Zetsu said in his heart, after all, the opponent is Shimizu Garashi, the possibility is not high. I knew it would be like this. Bordered Soil sighed, and said fiercely. Isn't it just identity exposure? Why should I be afraid? Wait, don't. Black Zetsu's tone was nervous. If Bordered Soil's identity is exposed, Shimizu Garashi is likely to say that Rin is not dead. Then, what awaits him will be Bordered Soil's betrayal on the spot. What's wrong? Bordered Soil wondered. I blocked the way out, isn't it more to your liking? Blocked the way out? Black Zetsu laughed in his heart. If you know that Rin is not dead, you will shamelessly go back even if Woodleaf hates you. Sorting out his thoughts, Black Zetsu explained, before we start the Fourth Shinobi World War, your identity should not be exposed. Why? First, we plan to let White Zetsu ride in order to shift the responsibility to Akatsuki, so that Akatsuki and the 5 great shinobi villages will have to go to war. But if your identity is exposed, others may mistakenly think that you are a spy sent by Woodleaf, and Woodleaf will divert some of the firepower. Second, we also have to propose a solution for Akatsuki. If your identity is exposed, your despicable act of assassinating Sensei and even Shimizu's wife during childbirth will also be exposed. Even the villains of Akatsuki will look down on you, and they won't believe the solution proposed by a scum like you. Bordered Soil's body trembled slightly. Assassinating Namikaze Minato, he could explain it as revenge for Rin, but his sensei was always one step late. But Shina Kushina has nothing to do with this matter, and Shimizu's wife has always cared about them and really treated them as her own children. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil said bitterly. Yes. A scum like me will even look down on a rebellious ninja. Don't talk about rebellious ninja, even I look down on you. Black Zetsu, as the most filial son of the shinobi world, said in his heart. Bordered Soil was silent for a moment. Then what should I do? Even if I don't take the initiative to expose myself, Senpai will find out the truth. Then let him have no time to care about you. Black Zetsu said firmly, directly start the Shinobi World War, and when everything is settled, it doesn't matter if your identity is exposed. Chapter 423. Let's start the Shinobi World War. Bordered Soil was also shocked by these words for a moment, then he asked in confusion. But didn't you say last time that you would wait for the Sanbai to resurrect before starting the war? If we start the war now, there's no way to resurrect the Jubi, right? Haha. What a coincidence. Black Zetsu laughed twice. I just found out that the Sanbai was resurrected 2 days ago, and I just finished the capture. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have delayed it. Black Zetsu sighed secretly. Because he was worried that the resurrection of the Sanbai would be discovered by Woodleaf's people first. Since the Sanbai was killed, he had White Zetsu all over the coastal area to be the first to catch the Sanbai. Half a year ago, the Sanbai was resurrected in the deep sea and was caught by him before he could reach the shore. This made it so that no one in the entire shinobi world knew about the resurrection of the Sanbai except for him. Fortunately, Bordered Soil was confused because of the fact that Black Zetsu pointed out the fact that Black Zetsu was a scum, so he didn't care about the coincidence in Black Zetsu's words. He was just surprised. What a coincidence. Seeing that Bordered Soil's surprise didn't seem to be fake, Black Zetsu relaxed. God is helping us. Bordered Soil nodded and asked again, when are we going to start with Aizen? Black Zetsu suggested, when the war breaks out. When the Akatsuki's attention is diverted to the war, we will start. Bordered Soil pondered for a moment, and said with a sad tone, is it finally coming to this step? Whether it's right or wrong, I will resurrect you, Rin. A week later, Woodleaf, Naruto building. Sure enough, I have lost my mind. Danzo put down the mahjong tiles in his hand on the table with a disappointed look on his face. I can't even feel the tiles. For the village, I have given up too much. At this moment, several rapid knocks sounded on the door. Danzo quickly put the mahjong on the table into the drawer, and then tidied up his appearance. Come in. The door was pushed open, and Ryuma walked in, and said in a panic, Hokage-sama. It's not good. A lot of white monsters have come ashore from the southern coastal area of the Land of Fire. Those monsters are burning and looting all the way to Konoha. White monsters? Danzo didn't care. Is it a conspiracy of the Akatsuki or other villages? But it doesn't matter, just use them to show us the power of Woodleaf. By the way, how strong are those monsters? Those monsters is Isama's arse are Chunan's arse. Ryuma added in a hurried tone, and it's not only the Land of Fire that has been attacked. If we count the other countries, the number of monsters that are wreaking havoc in the shinobi world may be hundreds of thousands. Chun's. Chungo go. Attack. Attack, S. T. T. But it doesn't matter. Danzo quickly calmed down. Even if the enemy is numerous, there's nothing to be afraid of. For strong people like them, it's normal to kill hundreds of Chunin with a single ninjutsu, not to mention a monster like Shimizu Garashi, who can kill tens of thousands of Chunin with a single wood release. Just as he was feeling relaxed, a figure rushed in anxiously. How dare you? Ryoma was about to scold, but after seeing the appearance of the person, he swallowed his words. Not only because of the identity of Sandame Naruto, but also because of the complicated relationship between him and Naruto-sama. Sandame put his hands on the table and asked with a serious face, Danzo, have you heard about those monsters? Danzo smiled contemptuously, Hiruzen, your kung fu is not good enough. You're scared of such a small thing? Sandame didn't care about Danzo's sarcasm and asked in surprise, do you have a solution? Danzo calmly knocked on the table. The power of a legion is indeed strong, but that's only in the case of strong people restraining each other. Although the Akatsuki has many strong people, it's not to the point where they can fight against the 5 great ninja villages. When they attack Woodleaf, we'll organize all the Jonins and offset their numbers with quality. That's it? Sandame sighed in disappointment and shook his head. Danzo's mouth twitched, you have a problem with that? Sandame sighed, those monsters won't come to Woodleaf at all. They've already scattered into countless scattered forces, raging everywhere in the Land of Fire. If the enemy is scattered, it will be difficult for them to play their advantage in terms of quality. Even if they have a powerful ninjutsu that can kill hundreds of people at once, the enemy will only have 5 or 6 people, and their role may be better than ordinary Jonins. Huh? Danzo subconsciously looked at Ryoma, that's not what you said just now. Ryoma was a little confused, I don't know, did they just change their course of action? Sandame nodded, yes, they just changed their course of action. Danzo took a deep breath, they're trying to dig out our roots. Ryoma couldn't help but ask, didn't the Akatsuki boast about being righteous? They won over the civilians and said that they're only targeting the 5 great ninja villages? Why are they attacking the entire ninja world like a madman? It's indeed a little strange. Sandame muttered, the previous actions of the Akatsuki were traceable, but this time, I can't see their pattern at all. Have they really accumulated enough power to fight against the entire ninja world? Don't worry about that, the key now is the rescue. Danzo methodically analyzed, the enemy has a great advantage in terms of numbers, no matter how we allocate people, it will be difficult to fill the gap. In that case, it's better to maintain the quality advantage, assign a few more people to each team, and slow down the rescue speed. We can't sacrifice ourselves for the rescue. Moreover, at least 1/3 of the combat power must be left to protect the village, and prevent the Akatsuki from luring us away. Finally, the people in the village have some misunderstandings about me, but now is a time of crisis, I still hope that everyone can unite to overcome the difficulties together. So, I won't assign tasks to them this time, but I'll trouble you to worry about communicating with them. Sandame looked at him in shock, Danzo can't have such awareness, and it's impossible for him to be so polite, who are you? Danzo's eyes twitched wildly, and he reluctantly smiled, people grow up. That's right. Everyone will grow. Sandame patted Danzo's shoulder with emotion, although your growth is slow, and you only understand this truth in your 60s, but you've finally grown up. I'm very happy. Hearing this, Danzo's veins bulged, what's with the bitter tone of Hiruzen's father? After Sandame left, Ryoma lowered his voice and asked, Naruto-sama, do you want to contact the leader of the Akatsuki and ask what's going on? Danzo coldly snorted, of course, I want to ask, what do they want? Chapter 424. Yunnan Village. Listening to Tsutai's report, A's face was gloomy. What the hell do those bastards want to do? Do they want to be enemies with the whole ninja world? Tsutai analyzed, although the Akatsuki is powerful, it's still not enough to be enemies with the 5 great ninja villages. The reason why they are doing this is probably to disperse our forces and defeat us one by one. Defeat us one by one? A calmed down and tapped the table with one hand. Although the Akatsuki is not the opponent of the 5 great ninja villages, they are stronger than any of us individually. If we send the ninjas of the village to rescue them, it will give them an opportunity to attack us. Tsutai nodded with a dignified expression. If we leave them alone, the whole world except for the 5 great ninja villages will fall into the hands of the Akatsuki, but if we take the initiative to attack, we will fall into their trap. Maybe we can strengthen the barrier. Yuki suggested, discover the enemy in advance and leave more time to summon everyone. It's not useful. Tsutai denied, if they are really determined to invade, they will definitely use those monsters to entangle our people. A slammed the table and said, then let's bring the people of the lightning country to Yunnan, we can always live there. Tsutai shook his head slightly, but the fundamental problem is still not solved. If the Akatsuki mobilizes all of their forces, it will be difficult for the village to resist with the current strength. O was dissatisfied, then what should we do? Tsutai was silent for a moment and sighed. In fact, the safest way is for the 5 great ninja villages to gather together and help each other. This time, everyone in the room was silent. Of course, they know the benefits of gathering together, but the problem is, where should they gather? From the map, there is no doubt that the Fire Country, which occupies the center of the map, is the most suitable place. But the demon disaster can't be solved in a day or two. In the long run, they are worried that the village will become a part of the Fire Country. When the war is over, their home will be gone. Rock Crypsis Village. What should we do? Should we take the initiative to move closer to Woodleaf and form a united front of the 5 great ninja villages? Yellow Soil hesitated. But we are not Sand Crypsis after all. Everyone should be more resistant to this kind of thing. Everyone in the room nodded with a complicated look on their faces. Although they no longer have the idea of targeting Konoha, they still have the cheek to please Konoha, which is still beyond their psychological endurance. In fact, you don't have to be too nervous. Inoki laughed, while you are worried, the Akatsuki is also afraid. Scared? Kitsuchi frowned slightly and quickly understood. I know, they have the strength to attack any shinobi village, but at the same time, they also gave Shimizu Garashi the opportunity to catch them all in one fell swoop. Han also came to a realization. No wonder they've only sent out those demonic creatures, but none of the higher-ups have shown up. Inoki laughed. Even if the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it up. Since Shimizu Garashi wants to be a hero, then let him be. In the illusory space, 10 figures were standing around. Everyone looked at Bordered Soil and Kuroto with great interest. Obviously, they knew what today's meeting was about. In this silent atmosphere, Yahiko asked, Hoodlum, Zetsu, why did the demonic army suddenly riot? Black Zetsu sighed, I'm sorry, we overestimated the control of the Geto Mazo. After the number of demonic creatures exceeded the critical point, they suddenly lost control. Lost control? Yahiko's voice was low. You didn't say that those demonic creatures could lose control. Black Zetsu explained, the ancient records we found didn't mention anything about losing control. Now that I think about it, it may be that the Geto Mazo in the ancient records was in a fully charged state, so there was no such worry. Fully charged state? Conan was puzzled. It's the state of all tailed beasts. Black Zetsu shrugged, didn't I say? The Geto Mazo is a cage used by the Sage of the Six Paths to imprison and tame the tailed beasts as a power source. Yahiko pondered, you mean, we have to capture 9 tailed beasts to restore control of those demonic creatures? I don't know. Black Zetsu pretended not to care, but from Madara's research, it should be like this, right? However, they naturally wouldn't choose to believe his words. Yahiko asked, "What evidence do you have?" "It's easy to prove that the Geto Mazo is a tailed beast cage. Its 9 closed eyes correspond to the 9-tailed beasts. As long as a tailed beast is put in, the corresponding eyes will open." Black Zetsu scratched his head and said, "As for the tailed beasts, I don't know how to prove it, or... Let's catch a tailed beast and put it in first." Yahiko pondered, "Do you want to catch a tailed beast to test it?" "There's no need to trouble you, leader." Black Zetsu smiled, "Hoodlum and I just caught the resurrected Sanbai 2 days ago." Yahiko squinted his eyes and looked at him deeply, "Then I'll trouble you." Seeing that they finished their discussion, Raiga couldn't help but say, "Shouldn't we think about a way out? Controlling the demonic creatures requires the power of a tailed beast. Not to mention whether the 5 great ninja villages will believe it. Even if they believe it, it's absolutely impossible for such a powerful force to be in our hands. So, whether we can save the situation or not, war is inevitable." Nagato nodded in agreement. "Yes, once the barely maintained balance is broken, it's impossible to return to the past. Now is not the best time to start a war, but the longer we wait, the worse the opportunity will be. Yes, we have to do it as soon as possible." Aizen agreed. "Now, the entire ninja world thinks that the demonic creatures' riot is our conspiracy. We can take advantage of their fear and dread to launch our action. If we let them know that even we can't control those demonic creatures, our deterrence will be greatly reduced. In that case, it seems that we shouldn't hesitate." Kisame asked, "But how are we going to start the war?" "First, concentrate our forces on attacking a ninja village?" Raiga hesitated. "Wouldn't it give Qingshui Shushi a chance if we turn from the shadows to the light?" Nagato said in a deep voice, "To achieve the goals of the organization, we have to go on the stage." Seeing that the focus of the war had changed, Black Zetsu hurriedly said, "In fact, the key to breaking the situation is the tailed beasts. Only by regaining control of the demonic army can we become a powerful organization that the ninja world fears, not a commander with only 10 people. Moreover, after absorbing the 9-tailed beasts, the Geto Mazo's strength will increase exponentially. Even Shimizu Garashi may not be its opponent. So, to achieve the goal of the organization, the key lies on the tailed beasts." Chapter 425. "Are you sure we can defeat Shimizu Garashi?" Raiga couldn't help but doubt. His 1,000-hand Buddha can catch a tailed beast with 1 arm. Even if the Kyubi is more powerful, even if it has 10 arms, it still has more than 900 arms left. That's not how it works. 10 cough cough. Black Zetsu forced himself to change his words. "The complete body golem will change qualitatively. It's not an addition, it's a multiplication." "Well, even if the complete body golem is as powerful as you say, how do we catch it?" Raiga calculated. "We can't alert the enemy, which means we have to catch the remaining 8-tailed beasts at once. There are only 10 of us here. Including the Woodleaf spy who doesn't want to expose his identity, there are only 11 of us. Even if we count Sasori and Nagato's powerful puppets, there are no more than 20 Kage-tier combatants. The 5 great ninja villages have 8 Jinchuriki, not to mention the other strong ones, and the Chunin and Jonin of the villages. Such a gap in combat power isn't something that can be offset by 1 or 2 puppets. Actually, this isn't difficult." Before Black Zetsu could speak, Aizen began to analyze. "We can reduce the gap in strength between the enemy and us as much as possible before exposing the tailed beasts. For example, we can concentrate on attacking the rock crypsis." Kakuzu hesitated. "Concentrate? Isn't that giving Shimizu Garashi an opportunity to catch us all in one fell swoop?" Nagato calmly said. "I will leave Chikashoto in the hidden rain. If you encounter any danger, Chikashoto will summon you back." Scorpion asked in surprise, "That clone of yours can even communicate with us?" Nagato concisely said. "Yes." Hearing this, everyone's expression relaxed. Without any worries, it means that they can do whatever they want. If he can summon us back at any time, what is there to be afraid of? Not to mention the rock Crypsis, I dare to provoke even Woodleaf. Not to mention Woodleaf, even if Shimizu Garashi were to stand in front of me, I would still dare. Seeing that they were getting more and more ridiculous, Nagato quickly added, I need time to summon you back. If you're killed before I can react, there's nothing I can do. Can I hold on for more than a second? Thinking of this, Raiga, who had been shouting the loudest, immediately stopped talking. Seeing that the space was quiet, Aizen smiled and said, with Nagato's summoning, we don't need to think about retreating in advance. Before Shimizu Shushi arrives, we should be able to seriously injure the rock's high-level combat power, right? Ghost Mermaid licked his lips and asked, aren't we going to kill them? It's better to leave them some hope. Aizen explained, seriously injuring them can make the 5 great shinobi villages feel threatened, but if we kill them, it will make them united against a common enemy. That seems to be the case. Ghost Mermaid nodded and asked, but why rock Crypsis? Sand Crypsis and Kirin are currently controlled by people close to Shimizu Garashi. Who knows if Shimizu Garashi gave them the flying thunder god Jetsu? Aizen shook his head slightly. As for Yunin and rock Crypsis, considering that we don't have much time, and Yunin is relatively strong, it's easier to bully rock Crypsis. I understand. Ghost Mermaid nodded, however, this method can only be used once. With rock Crypsis as an example, the other villages will not hesitate to put down their faces and ask Shimizu Garashi to give them the flying thunder god Jetsu. It's enough to eliminate rock Crypsis. Black Zetsu looked at Yahiko with a smile, leader, you should be in contact with Woodleaf's Naruto, right? Yahiko nodded slightly, yes. No one was surprised by this. When Danzo was released, they had already discussed the matter of cooperation with him. That's easy. Black Zetsu said, let the Hokage convene the 5 Kages conference again. Let's say that the rock village has suffered heavy losses and discuss a plan to deal with it. During the conference, we will take the opportunity to capture Jinchuriki. Wait, that's impossible, right? Conan hesitated. Rock Crypsis has just been attacked, and the villages are anxious and sensitive. How can they let their strength be weakened because of a 5 Kage conference? No, it's possible. Black Zetsu smiled, as long as we sell Woodleaf's Naruto. Conan's eyes lit up, what are you going to do? Black Zetsu said, isn't Naruto planning to use us to fight against Shimizu Garashi, and then he will benefit from it? At that time, we will lie to him and say that we are going to set a trap at the 5 Kage conference to capture Shimizu Garashi and the other 4 Kages. After he sends the invitation, we will accidentally reveal the trap to the Raikage, and let them counterattack against our sneak attack. At that time, we can take the opportunity to attack the 5 great ninja villages and capture their Jinchuriki. Hearing this, everyone's spirits were lifted. Although the process was still a little rough, overall, it should be feasible. As long as they carefully sculpted and designed the details more reasonably, it should be fine. Raiga said excitedly, in this way, there may be hope of success. Kakuzu said calmly, anyway, with the Chikashodo, the worst case is failure. Kisame laughed, am I the only one who thinks that Naruto-sama is a bit pitiful? When he smashes the cup as a signal, no one will ambush him. No, it should be said that they will all ambush him. Hearing what Kisame said, everyone couldn't help but sigh. It's not that they feel sorry for Danzo, but that they can't see such an interesting scene. Yahiko nodded and said, then it's decided, everyone will gather in the land of grass and prepare to attack the rock Crypsis. Those monsters only know how to kill and destroy. After capturing a territory, they will not occupy it, but wander around. Coupled with their ability to hide their aura, the operation of the 5 great ninja villages to eliminate the demon disaster was not ideal. So in just a few days, nearly 70% of the entire ninja world has fallen, and the 5 great ninja villages as base city has opened, and outside the base city is the danger zone. Of course, it's not only the 5 great ninja villages that have humans gathering. Small countries such as the Land of Iron and the Land of Rain can still protect themselves. After all, it's impossible for the 5 great ninja villages to cram so many people. Relatively speaking, they still give priority to refugees from their own countries. At this time, the the national ninja movement of the past 4 years has played a role. The greatly increased number of ninjas has made the survival rate of ordinary people much higher in this round of demon disaster. Because of this sudden disaster, everyone's view of those unorthodox ninjas has changed, and the people and ninjas have also accelerated the run-in between them. In short, the originally stable development of the ninja village has taken a sharp turn, and no one knows what kind of future it will turn into. Chapter 426. Konoha, in a gloomy underground chamber. Danzo looked at the masked man in front of him with a dark face, suppressing his anger. 5 Kages tournament? Are you provoking me? The 5 Kages tournament 4 years ago is a shame that can never be washed away in his life. For him, these 4 words are taboo. Bordered Soil obviously understood why Danzo was so angry and smiled calmly. Don't get me wrong, we don't have such bad taste. Danzo coldly snorted, then what do you mean? Bordered Soil laughed. Simply put, we plan to set a trap during the 5 Kages tournament and catch the other 4 Kages in one fell swoop. If Shimizu Garashi can also catch them, that would be great. Danzo frowned and asked, I remember your leader being quite normal, why did he suddenly go crazy? Bordered Soil was dissatisfied. Naruto-sama, I can't pretend that I didn't hear that. Danzo sneered. The war has just begun and he's already thinking about how to end it. He doesn't know how to make use of his superior forces, and he even fantasizes about defeating Shimizu Garashi. Tell me, isn't he crazy? Although we also want more time to prepare, the conditions don't allow it. Bordered Soil sighed. What did you say? Danzo was confused. You are our partner, so I won't hide some secret information from you, Bordered Soil said with a sigh. In fact, this war wasn't part of our plan. But those monsters suddenly went out of control, and even we couldn't control them, forcing us to start the war ahead of time. Danzo's mouth twitched. Are you an idiot? Using a few years to create an army that even you can't control. Isn't that a mistake? Obito smirked twice. In short, we have to weaken their strength as much as possible before the other shinobi villages realize this. While their strength is restrained by the demon disaster, it's best to directly determine the victory. Danzo pondered for a moment. Are you sure you can achieve your goal during the 5 Kages tournament? Don't worry. Of course, we made this decision with great confidence. Bordered Soil comforted him. Otherwise, wouldn't we have lost an important partner like you for nothing? Danzo nodded, agreeing with the other party's statement. He certainly knew that it was impossible for Akatsuki organization to truly regard him as one of their own, but his importance was absolutely beyond doubt, so Akatsuki organization had no reason to casually sacrifice such an important chess piece. Of course, in order to show our sincerity and our determination to go to war. Bordered Soil added. We will attack the rock crypsis directly. You should be receiving this information soon. What? Rock crypsis? Danzo was shocked. You should know that with the organization's strength, we can do that. Bordered Soil smiled reservedly. Danzo looked at him deeply. It seems that you really don't intend to leave a way out for yourselves. Bordered Soil laughed. That's right, no one will have a second chance. Danzo took a deep breath. Tell me, your specific countermeasures. You used this attack on the rock crypsis as an opportunity to invite the other 4 villages to convene the 5 Kages tournament to discuss how to deal with the organization. Wait. Before Bordered Soil finished, Danzo interrupted. The shinobi world is in chaos, and the rock crypsis is under attack. In such a tense and sensitive period, it's difficult for them to respond to a slogan, right? Of course, I will tell you something substantial to win their trust. Bordered Soil threw a few photos to Danzo. For example, the organization's base is in the Hidden Rain, and Hanzo the Salamander is being controlled by Genjutsu. What? Hanzo is being controlled by Genjutsu. Danzo was shocked and quickly picked up the photos to check. It was a picture of Hanzo's eyes, listening to someone's orders, and in the center of the Hidden Rain, a dense monster was sleeping. Well, this is big enough for them to come to the 5 Kages tournament, right? Bordered Soil asked with a smile. You even used the base to attract attention. You're really generous. Danzo calmly put away the photos. I said, we have no way out. Bordered Soil said solemnly, either we become the new master of this world, or we die like the embers. Well, what are you going to do after attracting them to the 5 Kages tournament? Bordered Soil casually said, the organization has cultivated a kind of puppet insect that can control the enemy's body. Although it's difficult to be effective against strong people, it can be used with Aizen's genjutsu to control even the Kages. When we control the other 4 Kages, we will pretend to fight, and when Shimizu Garashi arrives, the 4 Kages will use the 4 red flame formation to trap him. As long as Shimizu Garashi and the 4 Kages are gone, this world will belong to us. You can even control the Kages. Danzo's expression changed. Is it really you're doing that? The 4th Mizukage was controlled? Bordered Soil nodded. I am the one who controlled the 4th Mizukage. Danzo's eyes twitched. He always thought that the 4th Mizukage being controlled was a lie made up by Shimizu Garashi. He was worried for so long. However, since the Akatsuki can control the other 4 Kages, it means that they can also control me. Danzo was secretly vigilant, but his mouth said, I know what to do. Bordered Soil laughed. I believe that Naruto-sama will not let us down. After saying that, he voided and disappeared. Space ability? The Akatsuki is really a group of monsters. Danzo coldly snorted and walked out of the underground chamber, narrowing his eyes. Although I want to deal with Shimizu Garashi, the Akatsuki is also not a good thing. It's best to make them die together in this 5 Kages tournament. But soon he shook his head. Impossible. Even if they have many plans, it's impossible to trap Shimizu Garashi. That man can't be defeated. As the old enemy of Shimizu Garashi, Danzo believes that he knows the horror of that man better than anyone else. That man has never failed since the day he became a ninja, and most of his enemies have a tragic end, such as Inoki and the 3rd Mizukage. Throughout the ninja world, only I can have the upper hand in front of him. Danzo thought quite proudly. He took the position of Naruto from Shimizu Garashi. Is he proud? Although the Akatsuki will most likely lose, it's not impossible to take advantage of it. Danzo thought secretly. Not to mention that he's not optimistic about the Akatsuki, even if they can win, just by manipulating the Kages behind the scenes, he absolutely can't let them live. When Shimizu Garashi arrives at the 5 Kages tournament, I will tell him about the other 4 Kages being controlled, so that they won't have time to use the 4 red yang formation. Chapter 427. The more Danzo thought about it, the more excited he got. If I sell out the Akatsuki, there will be no evidence of my cooperation with them. Even if they tell the truth before they die, I can say that they deliberately slandered me. As for Shimizu Garashi, although the Akatsuki was eventually destroyed by him, as long as he killed the other 4 Kages, he will definitely not be suitable to be Naruto. Thinking of this, Danzo couldn't help but reveal a smug smile. With his experience of taking advantage of Shimizu Garashi, defeating Shimizu Garashi on a physical level is impossible. If he wants to defeat Shimizu Garashi, he can only use the so-called rules reasonably. Moreover, those photos can also be used. Danzo thought, I can take all the credit for discovering the Akatsuki's base and exposing the 4 Kages' control. Then, I can also use the fact that the 4 Kages are under control to say that their subordinates are the remnants of the Akatsuki. Then I can take the opportunity to replace the leaders of the other 4 villages with my people. At that time, not to mention Naruto, I can even be the Kage of the entire shinobi world. Hee hee hee. Hearing the strange laughter in the room, Ryoma, who was standing outside the door and was about to knock, felt embarrassed for a moment. Is there something wrong with Naruto-sama's brain? However, thinking of the urgent information he just received, Ryoma didn't dare to hesitate too much and gently knocked on the door a few times. Hearing the knock, the laughter in the room stopped, and soon a low voice came. Come in. Ryoma opened the door and saw Naruto-sama sitting on a chair looking at a document with a dignified expression. What's the matter? Our spies in Rock Crypsis send information that just now, the Akatsuki suddenly gathered their combat power to attack Rock Crypsis. At the cost of the Tsuchikage and the Yonbi's Jinchuriki being seriously injured and unconscious, and a large number of elite jonins were injured. They barely managed to hold on until Shimizu Garashi arrived. Danzo was stunned for a moment, then slowly nodded. How did the Akatsuki escape? As expected of Lord Naruto. Even after hearing such shocking news, you can still maintain your composure. Ryoma carefully flattered in his heart and then hurriedly said, it's the spirit's summoning technique. After Shimizu Garashi arrived, they were instantly summoned away. He can even communicate with ordinary members. Danzo's eyes narrowed. In the last 5 Kages tournament, although he was knocked out and taken away by the enemy at the beginning of the battle, after being released, he still learned about the follow-up process of the battle through the intelligence. He knew that the summoning at that time seemed to only summon the few people with Rinnegan. That's a little tricky. If we can't kill the Akatsuki, it will be troublesome to betray them. Danzo pondered, and soon his eyes lit up. Yes, Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Shimizu Garashi can use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. As long as we remind him of this, let him secretly leave the Flying Thunder God Jutsu on the Akatsuki's people, he will be able to find the one who used the spirit summoning technique and kill them all. Although Shimizu Garashi and Danzo don't get along well, Danzo never underestimates the other party. With Shimizu Garashi's ability, it won't be difficult for him to do what he wants. Thinking of this, Danzo calmed down. I already know about the attack on the rock Crypsis. Those bastards of the Akatsuki are too arrogant. Ryoma, you go and send an invitation to the other 4 villages. Tell them that I want to hold a 5 Kages tournament to discuss how to deal with the war between the Akatsuki and the Akatsuki. Hold a 5 Kages tournament? Ryoma was surprised. At this juncture, will someone really respond? Moreover, Lord Naruto doesn't have such prestige, does he? As if seeing what Ryoma was worried about, Danzo took out a few photos. Make copies of these photos and send them to the other 4 villages. When they see these photos, they will naturally come to participate. Ryoma took the photos skeptically, and with just a glance, he was shocked. Naruto-sama, this is, don't say, don't ask. Danzo calmly waved his hand. Just do as I say. Ryoma exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Yes, I understand. Rock Crypsis. The ninja village that used to be peaceful was now in a mess. The smell of blood and burning was everywhere, and the sound of pain and wailing could be heard. Houses collapsed, and the ground cracked, as if it had just experienced the destruction of a large earthquake. The people who came from the land of Earth and took refuge around the land of Earth were at a loss. Even Rock Crypsis, one of the 5 great ninja villages, suffered such a disaster. Is there any place in the world that can be regarded as a pure land? What am I doing? Kitsuchi opened his eyes in a daze, and then instantly woke up. Wait, I'm fighting the enemies of the Akatsuki. But before he could force himself to sit up, he heard the people around him cheering. Great, Kitsuchi-sama finally woke up. It's all thanks to Garashi-sama. If it weren't for Garashi-sama, let alone Kitsuchi-sama, our Rock Crypsis village would be in danger of being destroyed. It's been 8 years since the end of the 3rd Shinobi World War. For ninjas, 8 years is almost enough time to complete a generation. The younger generation who hasn't experienced the war don't have much hatred for Garashi. In fact, they grew up listening to the legends of Garashi, and most of them worship him. In addition, Garashi saved Rock Crypsis this time, so the worship in their hearts is even higher. In the midst of these cheers, Garashi asked while maintaining the super-large medical ninjutsu, Serene Rain, covering the entire Rock Crypsis. How is it? Are you feeling better? Noticing the strong vitality contained in the drizzle, Kitsuchi coughed twice. You saved us? Garashi nodded. Well, fortunately, I made it in time. By the way, where is my father? Kitsuchi looked around. Seeing him struggling to get up, the people around him quickly pressed him down. Tsuchikage-sama is seriously injured and unconscious. However, Tsuchikage-sama has been treated by Garashi-sama, and his life is no longer in danger. Hearing everyone's words, Kitsuchi's eyes were very complicated. His right arm and his father's left leg were lost because of Garashi, and even the heyday of rock Crypsis declined because of him, but the reason can be said to be their own fault. But now, not only did he come to support them, but he even took the initiative to save them. Compared with him, whether it's me or my father, we are a little narrow-minded. Kitsuchi sighed in his heart, and then said with difficulty. Thank you. Every word seemed to be heavy, but after saying it, Kitsuchi's heart was relaxed as if he got rid of the shackles. Looking at the young people around him, Kitsuchi sighed in his heart. Perhaps, these young people are more suitable for this era than us. Wait, when did that little bastard Deidara come over? Chapter 428. Looking at Deidara, who was trying to get closer to Shimizu Garashi, Kitsuchi was speechless. Fortunately, his father fainted now. Otherwise, if he saw his disciple who was trained as the next Tsuchikage trying to get closer to Shimizu Garashi, wouldn't he be so angry that he would kill him? But doesn't this little bastard only like explosions? Kitsuchi was puzzled. Although Shimizu Garashi is powerful, he won't play with explosions, right? After Garashi responded to Kitsuchi's gratitude, he asked, what's the situation now? Why did the Akatsuki attack Rock Crypsis desperately? I don't know, maybe they want to defeat us one by one? Kitsuchi was a little embarrassed as he said this. His father came to the conclusion a few days ago that the Akatsuki couldn't gather together to attack a ninja village, but as soon as he finished, he was slapped in the face, and almost half of the village was destroyed. But this can't be blamed on him. Who knew that the Akatsuki could summon a group of ninjas? Even in the last 5 Kage tournament, they only summoned a few Rinnegan. Garashi nodded with a dignified expression. Next, several other villages may also be in danger. We must inform them to be prepared in advance. Kitsuchi felt sad when he thought that the other major ninja villages were saved from disaster because of his family's sacrifice. Why did those bastards of the Akatsuki choose to attack Rock Crypsis? However, he quickly turned this sadness into hatred for the Akatsuki, and said fiercely, we can't just passively take a beating, we have to join forces to defeat those bastards. Joining forces is the best way, but it's not easy to do this. Shueisha sighed. After all, there are only a few people who have foresight, and most people who don't have the pain of losing their lives will inevitably have a fluke mentality, especially with the precedent of your rock village. The other shinobi village's conservatives will probably not agree to transfer their combat power and cooperate with us to launch a counterattack. Kitsuchi's eyelids drooped. Isn't Rock Crypsis like this? Before experiencing this disaster, he had always thought of protecting himself and letting others take his place if there was a problem. In the end, when disaster struck, they were powerless to resist. I will communicate with the conservatives and tell them with my own experience. After a moment of silence, Yellow Soil said solemnly, joining forces may bring about temporary losses, but if they don't join forces, they will end up like Rock Crypsis. Seeing that the Rock Crypsis had changed from an indecisive opportunist to a firm ally, Garashi nodded with relief. That's great. With your experience, the chances of success will be greatly increased. Seeing that they were done discussing, Deidara couldn't help but raise his hands and ask, Sir Garashi, can you perform surgery on me and sew a mouth on the back of my hand? Huang Tu's face darkened. Did they think that the Rock Crypsis hadn't exploded enough? A few days later, in Yunnan village. In the Reikage building. That Naruto wants to convene the 5 Shadows conference? Tu-Tai frowned. He's not afraid of exposing his scars. AI did not comment and distributed the photos in his hand. Look at this. Tu-Tai took the photo and his pupils suddenly shrank. Is this true? Killer Bee on the side couldn't help but sing, it's shocking, it's really challenging my nerves, it's not very satisfying. AI said in a deep voice. I've already asked someone to confirm it. Although it's still not certain, there's definitely something wrong with the Hidden Rain village. Tu-Tai rubbed his chin and muttered, I didn't expect that Naruto would be reliable for once. Yuki's spirit was lifted. Then should we quickly gather the other 4 villages and destroy their nest in one fell swoop? AI sneered. If we really go, we might not be able to come back. Ah, meow? What do you mean? Yuki tilted his head and asked. Tutai's eyes narrowed slightly. Reikage-sama, you mean, the base in this photo is a trap? AI said coldly. I don't know whether it's a trap or not, but he probably took this photo from the Akatsuki. What? Is Woodleaf Naruto actually a member of the Akatsuki? Yuki was shocked. Tutai couldn't help but ask, Reikage-sama, is the source of this information reliable? AI said in a deep voice. We have people in Woodleaf's information department. When he got these photos, he was also very shocked. He deliberately extracted the residual material in the original photos and compared it with the captured monsters. He found that the genetic information of the two is very similar. There's another point, that is, these photos are too clear. It doesn't look like they were taken secretly. It's more like they were taken in front of the Akatsuki. Listening to what he said, Yuki picked up the photos and looked at them from all angles, then slowly nodded. Yes, these photos are too normal to be reasonable. So, 4 years ago, it was indeed the Akatsuki who took the initiative to release him. Tutai said. At that time, I thought that the Akatsuki wanted to make things difficult for Shimizu Garashi so that he couldn't become Naruto. I didn't expect the reason behind it to be like this. Killer Bee couldn't help but curse. That shriveled old man definitely wants to harm us. Big brother, let's call Shimizu Garashi and kill him together. Don't mess around. AI stared at him. This is a rare opportunity for us. Opportunity? An opportunity to pull the Akatsuki out from the shadows. I understand. Yuki clapped his hands. The Akatsuki invited Reikage-sama to participate in the 5 Kages convention through Danzo. They must want to set a trap during the convention. Then we can take advantage of this opportunity to set a trap for them. Yes. Tutai nodded approvingly. If the Akatsuki has been hiding in the dark, we can't do anything. But if they take the initiative to expose themselves, it's completely different. A group of fools, watch me finish them. Killer Bee gestured. Big brother, let me go with you. Yuki raised his right hand. Me too, I want to go. However, AI shook his head and refused. Why do you want to go? If too many people go, it will easily arouse the enemy's suspicion. You should stay at home and protect the village. But the enemy has set up an ambush for you. Killer Bee frowned. If we send too few people, they might succeed in the ambush. Yuki nodded again and again. It's too dangerous. Tutai said. Don't worry, I will inform the other Kages and Garashi-sama in advance. As long as Shimizu Garashi is prepared, those bastards of the Akatsuki will suffer. Oh. Then I'm relieved. Big brother, when you fight, remember to get close to Shimizu Garashi. Seeing the change in their attitude, AI was speechless. What do these bastards think of him? He is Reikage. Chapter 429. Under the stimulation of Kitsuchi's words and Reikage's secret information, the Sand and Mist who originally planned to follow Shueishi's footsteps quickly agreed to the proposal of the 5 Kages meeting. As the organizer, the Land of Iron was also happy to see this. The pressure of the demon disaster is great, and the people of the 5 great shinobi villages will help them clean up the monsters on the road, right? On the road of the Land of Iron, which has become strange. After cleaning up the monsters around, Danzo sighed with emotion. I'm back here again, and this time, I will take back everything I lost last time. Hearing Danzo's bold words, Kama couldn't help but look at his lower body and was secretly shocked. Didn't Naruto-sama lose a lot of blood last time? Is he going to take it from other people this time? Ryuma's mood was surging. He had a rough idea of Danzo's plan. As expected of Hokage-sama, this plan of eating both sides is perfect. When they arrived at the meeting place, the flags of the other 4 great shinobi villages were already hung high. The puppet insect should have taken effect by now, right? Looking at the flags hanging up, Danzo muttered to himself. In order to avoid being accidentally injured by the puppet worms, he deliberately slowed down his pace. Naruto-sama, welcome. The samurai who came to greet them showed good quality, and he didn't laugh because of the absurd memories in his mind. Please come with me, I will take you to your room to rest. No need. Danzo looked up at the sky. It's still early, and time is tight, so we won't rest. You go and inform the other 4 Kages to see if they have time. If they have time, let's start the meeting in advance. The samurai was a little surprised, but he didn't refute and nodded obediently. I understand. Danzo pressed the Naruto hat on his head and went straight to the meeting place. After opening the door and sitting on Woodleaf's side, he began to close his eyes and rest. It didn't take long for the sound of the crowd to come from outside. The first to come in was Reikage, and he sat down and then said sarcastically, "Old man, you came late, but you are so active in the meeting." Danzo just smiled, and his eyes were full of sympathy. He didn't want to get angry with a person who was about to die soon. Then the 3 who came in found their seats and sat down. Among the 3 Kages, Danzo only looked at Kitsuchi. Inoki didn't come? Kitsuchi said in a deep voice. Father was seriously injured and in a coma, so I temporarily replaced him. Danzo shook his head and sighed. It's a pity that even the last familiar face is gone. What a waste of time. Kitsuchi didn't pay attention to him. He looked around and said, "Since you are talking about me, I will mention it again. Akatsuki is the cancer of the entire ninja world. If you turn a blind eye to the disaster because it didn't happen to you, sooner or later, you will be devoured by it." Everyone's face, since they came here, obviously, they knew, and Danzo's. However, before they could speak, Danzo righteously said, "That's right, the harm caused by the Akatsuki can't be ignored. On behalf of Woodleaf, I am the first to agree to the alliance." Everyone looked at him in surprise, and they said, "I also agree to the alliance, but the problem is how to do it. The Akatsuki won't take the initiative to expose themselves and let us attack them." Danzo knocked on the table and said, "Didn't I send you the photos? The hidden rain is the enemy's hiding place." Oh, yes. I responded with a smile, and he was ashamed in his heart. He almost forgot that Danzo was a traitor. Raza suggested, "Maybe we can sneak into the hidden rain and secretly remove the genjutsu on Hanzo's body. On the one hand, it will increase our combat power, and on the other hand, we can use Hanzo's huge reputation in the hidden rain to destroy the Akatsuki's influence in the hidden rain. I don't think it's appropriate. We can't expose the fact that we found the Akatsuki's base for Hanzo." "Empress Shomi," I said, "the most important thing for us now is to find the person who can use summoning jutsu without the blood contract." Kitsuchi said, "Aizen is also very important. If we don't take this opportunity to kill him, his powerful genjutsu will cause us a lot of trouble." I shook his head. "I think we should focus on dealing with the parasitic member. Those monsters look very similar to him. If we catch him, we may be able to study how to control those monsters." "I don't think so." Time passed little by little, and everyone's heart gradually became irritated. Reikage and the others were waiting for the Akatsuki and Danzo to make a move. Because they didn't seem to be aware of the ambush around them, they could only wait for the other side to take the initiative. Danzo was also confused. Didn't they say that they would pretend to fight to lure Shimizu Garashi here? Could it be that the puppet worms haven't played their role yet? Both sides were restraining themselves, pretending to be polite and communicating with the enemy about countermeasures. As a result, the meeting proceeded normally, in a situation that no one had expected. Damn it. I didn't come here to accompany them in this meeting. Hurry up and do it. What are those bastards of Akatsuki thinking? I had a strange expression. Did I guess wrong? The Akatsuki didn't intend to do anything during the meeting, but they really wanted to use the meeting to lure us to the hidden rain? He always thought that the Akatsuki was on the 3rd floor, but he didn't expect them to be on the 1st floor. Finally, I couldn't help but ask, "Excuse me, Naruto-sama, can you tell me how you got this picture?" The 3 were a little surprised. They didn't expect Reikage to have a showdown. However, thinking of this endless meeting, they didn't stop him. Danzo frowned. Naturally, it was my subordinate who sneaked into the hidden rain and took this picture. Is that so? A sneered, secretly taking a picture in front of the enemy, and under the eyes of Aizen, who has a strong spiritual sense. Your subordinate is really powerful, can you introduce him to us? Danzo was stunned, then immediately smiled. Oh? Is it starting now? I was at a loss. What? After saying something that no one else understood, Danzo spat at AI. I won't say it. Hit me if you have the ability, you bastard. Only the 4 Kages are being controlled. Their personal guards probably don't know about this. According to the original plan, the Raikage will chase after me. While I'm being chased, I'll drag the 3 of them into a 5-man melee. When Qin Shui appears to stop the fight, the 4 of them will immediately form a formation to seal him off. Danzo secretly thought, it's best to tell the truth one step ahead of them, so I can't reveal that the 4 of them are being controlled. I must. A, who was inexplicably spat at by Danzo, got up, grabbed the table in front of him, and directly hit Danzo. Danzo's eyes widened in midair. Bastard, you really hit me. Chapter 430. Seeing Naruto, Sama being sent flying, Ryuma and Kama naturally didn't hesitate to attack. Secret technique, parasite. Would release, tree bind. It covered his whole body with a layer of lightning armor and rushed forward like a bull. Get out of my way. The insects that were as dense as dark clouds fell like raindrops when they touched the lightning armor on Raikage's body. But the dead insects didn't settle down. They automatically disintegrated into a poisonous fog and covered the Raikage. The vines binding the Raikage were almost broken, but it also bought some time for Danzo. Wind release, vacuum jade. The high-pressure wind blew away the poisonous fog and directly blew A away. Seeing the Raikage being beaten, Yunan's side also joined the battle. Too despicable, they actually bullied him with numbers. Raikage-sama, I'll help you. On the other side, Rock Crypsis's side was still a little confused, but at this moment, seeing the wind blowing away the poisonous fog, they couldn't help but join the battle. Bastard, do you want to kill us? I've been looking at him for a long time. Hit him. Mifune, who was standing in the center of the area, loudly dissuaded. Everyone, calm down, don't let the enemy see you as a joke. However, no one listened to him. The 4 villages have been waiting impatiently for a long time, and they planned to forcibly capture Danzo and force the Akatsuki members to come out. Danzo was a little happy at first. Finally, he didn't have to wait any longer. But as he fought, he felt that something was wrong. What happened to the 5-party melee? Why are the other 4 attacking him? If this goes on, he will really be killed. Could it be that they want to use me to get Shimizu Shushi's letter, and then when Shimizu Shushi is unprepared to activate the array? Danzo was shocked and angry at the same time. Those bastards of the Akatsuki were actually planning to take advantage of him. Damn it, I can't wait for Shimizu Garashi to come out. Danzo shouted towards Mifune, come and help, all 4 of them are under the control of Akatsuki's people. Mifune's eyes were blank, but after hearing Danzo's words, his heart tightened, and he nervously looked at the 4 Kages. For a child's quarrel to develop to this point, he vaguely sensed that something was wrong. Hearing Danzo's accusation, Kitsuchi couldn't help but feel depressed. Don't believe him, this bastard is the one who cooperated with Akatsuki. They even know about my cooperation with Akatsuki. As expected, they have been controlled. Danzo became more and more convinced of his guess and shouted, I deliberately cooperated with the Akatsuki in order to draw them out. After saying that, he shouted towards Tsutai and the others, Akatsuki organization deliberately let me hold the 5 Kages meeting. They plan to use the puppet insect to control the 4 Kages, and then let them use the 4 red yang array to trap Shimizu Garashi. I pretended to cooperate with them in order to destroy their plan. Also, I purposely fell behind you because I was worried that the puppet worms would plot against me. Stop looking and come help me. This time, even Tsutai and the others hesitated. Danzo didn't hide the fact that he cooperated with Akatsuki, and he said it as if it was true. Could it be that the four Kages were really plotted against by Akatsuki? Seeing Tutai and the others looking at them with strange eyes, Kitsuchi and the others almost suffered internal injuries. Idiot. How can there be puppet worms in the shinobi world? We are very good, we are not controlled at all. Danzo sneered, sick people never think that they are sick. Mifyun's brain was in chaos, which side is right? Although Naruto's reputation is the worst, looking at his confident tone, he doesn't seem to be lying. At this moment, an incomparably tyrannical pressure descended, and like a shackle, everyone in the hall stopped fighting. Everyone, stop. Hearing Garashi's voice, everyone quickly calmed down as if they found their backbone. No matter how chaotic the scene is, as long as Garashi is there is no need to worry. However, without waiting for them to explain, Danzo shouted, "Be careful of their sneak attack, let's catch them first." Kitsuchi and the others glared at him. This bastard still didn't forget to lie. But seeing Danzo's firm eyes, they were somewhat puzzled. Is there something wrong with this bastard's brain, or he can even lie to himself? Garashi slightly shook his head and said in a heavy tone, "We have been deceived by Akatsuki, their goal is not us, but the village's Jinchuriki. As for Danzo, he is just a pawn that they threw out to divert the firepower." What? Those bastards actually. Danzo's eyes widened, he thought that he was plotting against Akatsuki, but the Akatsuki betrayed him from the beginning? But soon, he put this matter to the back of his mind, and noticed something that made his hair stand on end. What did Shimizu Garashi call him? Raza and the others didn't care about Danzo's strange look, and when they heard Garashi's words, they were very nervous. What, the village was attacked? Garashi, what's the situation now? Garashi said in a deep voice, "I have sent my clone to reinforce the village, he should be here soon." Time moved forward a little bit. Woodleaf, Ninja Academy. Yagami-sensei, I want to graduate early. Me too, I want to graduate too. If Sasuke-kun graduates, then I want to graduate too. Saint looked at the little ones in front of him helplessly. Don't mess around, how old are you? You want to graduate? Sasuke said with a serious face. But my brother also graduated at the age of 7. Yagami-Saint wanted to tell him that people can't be generalized, but he thought about it seriously and resisted the urge to attack Sasuke. What about you, Naruto? Why do you want to graduate early? Naruto waved his little fist. I want to help everyone, I also want to go to the battlefield to kill those monsters. The 8th Saint patted his head with a smile. Going to the battlefield is not the only way to help everyone. Now that the village is in chaos, there are refugees coming to seek shelter every day. You are doing the village a favor by sending them food and water and helping them carry their luggage. Naruto nodded. I understand. And you, Sasuke? The Uchiha clan is responsible for the police work of Konoha, and as the number of people seeking refuge increases, it's inevitable that there will be more people trying to pass off as genuine. Without waiting for him to finish, Sasuke asked excitedly. Yagami-sensei, you mean you want me to catch the thieves and robbers among those people? What are you thinking? Saint said angrily. I want to say that your biggest role is to massage your father and brother's shoulders and back, so that they can relax after a day of hard work. Sasuke turned his head away. Don't treat me like a child. Chapter 431. After being kicked out, Sasuke curled his lips. Yagami-sensei is too conservative. He won't let us graduate. That's right. I wanted to go on a mission with my father after graduation and protect him. Naruto complained. What do you think an intelligence agent who only knows how to run away does he go out every day? With the current situation of the shinobi world, what useful information can he get? Thinking of his brother who ran out every day, Sasuke nodded in agreement. That's right, these adults really don't make people worry at all. By the way, Naruto, since you have such a good reason, why don't you explain it to Yagami-sensei? Hey, mainly because I think Yagami-sensei's persuasion is quite reasonable. I'm going to let my dad listen to it when I go back today. Naruto said. Actually, I can understand my dad's feelings. He's been an intelligence agent all his life. Now that the shinobi world is in chaos, there's no place for him to realize his self-worth. Moreover, he probably can't get any mission now. If he can't get any mission, he can't make money to support his family. That's why he's been running out of the village, thinking about whether he can get some information from those monsters. Alas, this is the sense of crisis of a middle-aged man. It's not easy for your dad. Sasuke sighed and asked. Why don't you let your dad work in the police department? It just so happens that the police department is short of people now, so he doesn't have to go out and take risks. Is that really okay? Naruto was a little moved. I listened to Yagami-sensei's suggestion. I originally planned to let my dad carry things with me. His body flicker jutsu doesn't have to be used for escaping, it's also useful for transporting goods. Don't worry, my dad is very easy to talk to. Sasuke raised his chin reservedly. He'll never embarrass your dad. Thank you, Sasuke. Naruto said gratefully. After that, Naruto sighed in the space of consciousness. I finally helped my dad find a job. Alas. I really envy my dad for having such a filial son like me, right? Kurama? A middle-aged man's sense of crisis, Flying Thunder God Express. Kurama, who was rolling around in laughter in the consciousness space, heard Naruto's voice and quickly suppressed the corner of his mouth. Yes, you're the most filial. Wait, this is... Kurama suddenly stood up and looked in a certain direction through his perception. The killing intent in his eyes soared. It can't be wrong. This battle fluctuation. That bastard actually dares to come back. Kurama, what's wrong with you? Naruto felt strange because of Kurama's change in the space of consciousness. Suddenly, his body shook. Only when he withdrew his consciousness from the space did he realize that the ground was shaking slightly. In the distance, a pillar of light soared into the sky, and flames shot out in all directions. Is it the enemy of Akatsuki? Sasuke looked at the direction of the battle excitedly. As the son of the Uchiha Patriarch, Kuroto has naturally heard about the invasion of the rock Crypsis. But looking at it, Sasuke suddenly realized that something was wrong, and shouted with a pale face. That's my home. Seeing Sasuke running in the direction of the fire, Naruto hurriedly followed. Sasuke, wait for me. Uchiha clan. It's this bastard again. Shina Kushina stared at the masked man in front of her. Although they didn't officially meet 7 years ago, Kurama's rage in the space of consciousness was enough to explain everything. I'm sorry, Mikoto. It's my fault for dragging you into this. Looking at the ruins of her house, Shina Kushina's heart was full of regret. She just came to visit her bestie's house. How could she destroy her bestie's house? It's okay. Although she was still in shock, Mikoto quickly calmed down. They're here for the thing in your body? It should be. Shina Kushina took a deep breath. You should run. Don't worry about me. Minato will notice the movement here and come quickly. Well, I know. Mikoto obviously knew that she would only be a burden if she stayed. But the masked man's next sentence made her face change dramatically. I was going to capture your son to threaten you. The masked man's gaze shifted from Shina Kushina to her. But this woman seems to be able to play the same role. Despicable. Shina Kushina's anger was about to materialize. 5 chakra chains extended from her back and flew towards the bordered soil. However, the bordered soil ignored the chains and rushed towards Mikoto's direction. In the next moment, those chakra chains that exuded a powerful aura passed through his body. The ability to turn one's body invisible? Shina Kushina guessed. Although this was the first time she came into contact with the masked man, Minato had already told her about his ability. However, Kurama shouted in her space of consciousness. No, Shina Kushina, you're under an illusion. Be careful of the man wearing the Reaper's mask. What? I was caught in a genjutsu, when? Kushina looked at the person who was wearing the Shinigami's mask, who she had ignored all this time. As a perfect Jinchuriki, she shouldn't need to worry about Genjutsu. The moment she was under an illusion, Kurama should have disturbed the flow of chakra and awakened her. Why was there a delay this time? Sensing Shina Kushina's doubts, Kurama said with some uncertainty. I seem to be under an illusion too. What? His genjutsu can actually affect you through the space of consciousness. Shina Kushina was shocked. Is it another Uchiha Madara? No, the feeling he gives me is completely different from Uchiha Madara. Kurama's tone was fearful. Uchiha Madara used genjutsu to forcibly control me. In the case of external interference, I can resist, but this man's genjutsu, I can't even tell if I'm under an illusion or not. He's so powerful. Shina Kushina was shocked and anxious. Mikoto was in danger. She also wanted to force a move, but the previous scene made her hesitate. The opponent's genjutsu just made her misjudge the enemy's position. What if the enemy she saw this time was actually Mikoto? Suddenly, a light flashed, and Shina Kushina quickly asked. Kurama, can't you perceive malice? Kurama's voice was dignified. That's the most terrible thing, I can't feel any malice from him. Shina Kushina didn't have time to be shocked and asked again. What about the Uzumaki? Can he perceive it? Kurama was surprised. How can this guy have malice one moment and not the next? Is there something wrong with his brain? Shina Kushina had some doubts in her heart, but she didn't care so much. From now on, don't worry about what I see and hear, just tell me the location of the malice. Chapter 432. Although Shina Kushina and Kurama talked about a lot of things, in the outside world, it only lasted for a moment. At the same time that Obito rushed towards Mikoto, many Uchiha clansmen reacted, either attacking from afar or blocking his path. However, these attacks had no effect on him as they passed through Bordered Soil's body. The surrounding Uchiha had never seen such an ability before, and all of them couldn't help but open their mouths wide in disbelief. How did this guy do it? Is he a ghost? Are we in a genjutsu? Bordered Soil easily broke through the encirclement as if he was in an uninhabited land. Coming in front of Mikoto, he raised his hand and shot a cutting technique towards her. But at this moment, Shina Kushina threw a chakra chain like a spear at him. Hearing the sound of air breaking behind him, Bordered Soil's face changed slightly under his mask, and he hurriedly dodged to the side. Shina Kushina reminded loudly, his body will materialize when he attacks. Hearing Shina Kushina's reminder, the Uchiha also reacted. No wonder this guy wanted to dodge. That is to say, just stare at him when he attacks. However, Bordered Soil completely ignored them and looked at Aizen with dissatisfaction, and asked in a hoarse voice, "Did you use genjutsu to affect her 5 senses?" Aizen tilted his head. I heard that Kyubi has the ability to sense malice, but isn't your malice too obvious? Sense malice? Then you do it. Bordered Soil suddenly paused and looked at Shina Kushina's figure. Forget it, let me catch her. After Minato arrived, he first confirmed Shina Kushina's safety, and then looked at the two opposite with a dignified expression. Shina Kushina reminded him, be careful of the enemy's genjutsu, even Kurama fell for it. When Minato heard this, his expression became serious. I understand. On the other side. Knowing Bordered Soil's ability, everyone increased their attention and paid attention to the enemy's movements, intending to deal a fatal blow when the enemy makes a move. Bordered Soil sighed slightly. I didn't intend to clean you up, but why are you blocking my way? Would release 10,000 arrows. As soon as his voice fell, hundreds of sharp wooden sticks suddenly shot towards the surrounding. This attack was fast and fierce, but it wasn't fatal to the Uchiha who had opened the Sharingan. But just as they were about to dodge, several vines stretched out of the ground and bound their ankles. With this delay, they were impaled by the wooden sticks and pinned to the ground, causing them to scream in agony. Listening to their screams, Bordered Soils didn't have the slightest bit of, and didn't have any emotions didn't eyes. He's eyes Kuan's life and Kuan's. And an escape. Soil, Shirsue's eyes. Of her time to escape. Her as the Uchiha patriarch's wife, she's not weak. But not weak depends on who she's compared to. Compared to Bordered Soil, she's not strong enough. Come here. Bordered Soil raised his right hand, and several vines flew out of his palm and wrapped around Mikoto. Just as the vines were about to wrap around her, a fire dragon flew from the distance and swallowed the vines. Behind the waves of fire, a young face was reflected. Uchiha Itachi. Bordered Soil's eyes were calm. Although the opponent is a famous genius, as long as he doesn't open his Mangekyo, he won't be a threat to him. At this time, Mikoto also noticed the movement behind her. Itachi, you're not his opponent. Run, don't worry about me. Itachi pulled out a large number of shurikens from his tool bag and said without looking back, he's strong, but I don't need to defeat him. Sandame and Orochimaru, Sama are already on their way, and Garashi, Sama could arrive at any time. He should be the one who's anxious. You're right, so. Bordered Soil didn't deny it. He made a hand seal and slapped the ground. Next, it's time for the big move. Wood release, world of trees. The whole street was overturned by a sea of trees. These trees seemed to have a life of their own, and chased after the two like pythons. But while these trees were chasing after Obito, a beautiful arc was drawn in the air, and a dozen shurikens bypassed the trees and shot towards Obito from the gaps between the trees. To be able to use shurikens to this extent, it's really rare. Bordered Soil nodded in appreciation. After dodging the attack, he continued to control the sea of trees to surround Itachi, who was running away with Mikoto. Then, his ears twitched. He heard the sound of something breaking the air behind him. Revolving shuriken? His control ability is indeed. Obito once again blurred, commenting in a high and mighty manner. Immediately, his pupils trembled. Wait, this is. In his perception, the shape of a shuriken suddenly became unstable, as if it would explode in the next moment. Bordered Soil didn't dare to pretend anymore. He was so scared that he quickly moved his body to another space. The next moment, a fierce and violent flame burst out, and the heat wave was so fierce that it almost swallowed the surrounding trees. After a full 2 seconds, Obito retreated from the different dimension, still in a state of shock. Aizen, who was restraining the Minato couple on the other side, turned his head slightly. However, he wasn't surprised by Itachi's arrangement. Instead, he looked at Bordered Soil with some surprise. 2 seconds. That's longer than I thought. Also, his clothes seemed to have a few more traces of being tied up. Bordered Soil didn't notice Aizen's gaze. He was still a little scared. His ability wasn't to turn into a void, but to move the part of his body that was attacked to another space, making it look like he didn't have a physical body. In other words, when he moved the part of his body that was attacked, the other parts of his body were still in the real world. If he didn't move in time and let the shuriken explode in his body, he might have been blown in two. I really can't be careless. But this guy's fighting talent is really scary. He saw through my ability at a glance. Bordered Soil was shocked and annoyed. He didn't intend to use Mikoto to threaten Shinakushina, but now he was really pissed off. Since you want to die so much, I'll fulfill your wish. Wood release, chaos of hell. The originally smooth trees were suddenly covered in thorns as they rushed towards Itachi and Mikoto in a frenzied manner. Seeing the murderous intent that filled the sky, even Itachi frowned. He could think of a way to avoid it if he was alone, but it was too difficult if he was carrying someone. The moment the forest went berserk, a purple chakra materialized and covered them. The trees crashed into the materialized chakra and fell to the ground. Then, the chakra gradually took shape and turned into a half-skeleton. Bordered Soil looked at the familiar half-skeleton and muttered. Fiercei Fugaku. Fugaku stood on the half-skeleton and roared. Bastard, what do you want to do to them? Chapter 433. It's really troublesome. It's a pity that my eyes. Bordered Soil sighed. If he could get Kakashi's eyes back, not to mention the cooperation of the double Kamui, Susanoo alone would be enough to suppress him. After all, in order to hide his ability, Fugaku almost didn't use Mangekyo, and his development of Susanoo was still in the initial stage. Seeing Bordered Soil was silent, Fugaku controlled the giant's right arm and punched him. For the Uchiha, he had been enduring and retreating, but at this moment, he finally broke out. The surrounding trees were broken, and as soon as Bordered Soil jumped away, the giant's arm followed and hammered the ground. This chase and escape, like a game of whack-a-mole, made the surrounding Uchiha excited. Regardless of their injuries, they shouted there. Amazing, so this is the real strength of the patriarch? Captain, kill that bastard. Just as the situation gradually became clear, the two little guys ran from the periphery of the forest. Brother, Mom, Dad, you must be okay. Sasuke nervously muttered to himself. The surrounding terrain had changed, and he could only barely run to the memory of his home. Sasuke, wait for me. Naruto followed him closely, rushing through a circle of embers from the periphery of the forest. It was the inner circle that was swallowed by the previous explosion, and the vision that was originally blocked by the forest suddenly became clear. At a glance, Sasuke saw his mother, who was covering her shoulder with blood flowing out, and his father, who was standing among the skeletons, with tears of blood flowing from his eyes. An inexplicable fear and anger surged in his heart, and suddenly, a Tomo appeared on the edge of his pupil. However, Sasuke didn't notice the strangeness of his eyes, and just ran forward with red eyes. Mom, Dad. Not only him, but Naruto was also frightened by the scene in front of him. Mom? Dad? Why are you here? Looking at the golden chakra chain behind his mother, and the super big chakra ball in his father's hand, Naruto was stunned. Naruto's brain froze for a moment. Isn't Mom an ordinary housewife? Isn't Dad an ordinary intelligence agent? Why do I feel that they are more powerful than the teachers in school? Hearing Sasuke's voice, Fugaku and the others subconsciously looked over, and then their faces turned pale. Sasuke and the others rushed in the direction behind the two masked men. Stop. Don't come over. Bordered Soil naturally noticed the movement behind him. He smiled at Fugaku and said, since there's a better substitute, I won't bother you anymore. As thanks for your hospitality, let me help you get rid of a defective product. With that, he shot a cutting technique at Sasuke. However, his attention wasn't on Sasuke, but on Naruto, recalling the previous scene. He originally planned to take Naruto as a hostage, but before he made a move, he learned about Naruto's nature. Naruto also had a ninjutsu in his body. To be precise, it was half Kyubi. In order to guard against me, it actually split the 9 tails into 2. Bordered Soil sighed in his heart. The only time they had the chance to separate the 9 tails was when I channeled the 9 tails out 7 years ago. That is to say, they had anticipated my actions 7 years ago. Someone with such foresight could only be senior. Under normal circumstances, a child like Naruto, who acts as a Jinchuriki, is far easier to capture than an adult because his body can't withstand the Bija chakra. But Naruto is different. He inherited the Uzumaki clan's physique, and his body's capacity is even stronger than an adult. Moreover, he also knows that Kyubi and Minato's family have a good relationship. Naruto is likely to be a perfect Jinchuriki. With Kyubi's conscious restraint, the Bija chakra's burden won't be too great. Therefore, the difficulty of capturing Naruto is actually not much easier than capturing Shinakushina. At least, he's not sure if he can capture him in a short time. After understanding this, he gave up the original plan of capturing Kyubi and turned to other ideas. At this moment, looking at the anxious and angry Naruto, Bordered Soil chuckled in his heart. Release all the anger of your friend being killed. However, the smile under Bordered Soil's mask quickly froze on his face. Not only him, but the stick that was shot at Sasuke's face also froze in mid-air, and it took a few milliseconds before it moved again. Most people can't tell the difference of a few milliseconds, but those who noticed bordered soil and the stick were frozen for a few milliseconds had an awareness in their hearts. Just now, it was the ability to freeze time. Although it was only a few milliseconds, it was enough for Sasuke, who broke out with great potential between life and death, to escape. At this time, there were two heavy breathing sounds on the field. One was Sasuke's breathing sound, and the other was Itachi's breathing sound. Bordered Soil's face was a little dark under his mask. Is he a genius boy? After coming out, he helped Uchiha Sasuke awaken his Sharingan, and now he helped Uchiha Itachi awaken his Mangekyo, and it's a super terrifying ability to freeze time. Fortunately, Uchiha Fugaku had already awakened his Mangekyo, otherwise, he would have doubted his luck. On the side, Aizen was also shocked. Sharingan is the eye of the soul. Itachi was worried about Sasuke and wanted time to stop at that moment, so he awakened the ability to freeze time. Although it's only a few milliseconds, it's terrible enough. I just don't know what his other ability is. Although it's different from the original trajectory, Aizen was still quite satisfied. After all, what's the use of Amaterasu's fire of kindness? Is it to scare people? On the other side, seeing Sasuke dodging the attack, Naruto was relieved. At the same time, he transformed into Kyuubi and directly shot a Bijidama at him. What? He also has Kyuubi. Bordered Soil pretended to be shocked, and then used the ability of time and space to wrap Aizen up. Let's escape together, don't resist. Aizen seemed to be frightened by the sudden attack. He really didn't resist and let Bordered Soil take him away. Seeing the two disappear, Minato was startled, and then his face changed greatly. He opened the time and space barrier to meet the Bijidama. If he let this Bijidama go, the village will suffer heavy losses again. On the side, Sasuke looked at Naruto, who transformed into Kyuubi, with his mouth wide open. What should he do when his best friend suddenly turned into a monster? Wait, I heard some people in the clan say that Sharingan can control Kyuubi. Uchiha Madara even caught Kyuubi as a summoning beast. Sasuke looked at Naruto nervously. He waved his small fist and said to himself, instead of letting others catch Naruto, it's better for me to contract him in advance. I treat him as a friend, and I won't bully him like others. Well, at most, I'll ride him. Kyuubi suddenly trembled and looked around vigilantly. Could it be that someone wants to murder him? Chapter 434. Kamui Space. As soon as both of them entered the Kamui space, they were attacked indiscriminately, and before they could react, they were tied up by layers of vines. Aizen didn't panic, he just looked at Bordered Soil, who was also tied up, and smiled. Is this a new welcome ceremony? As expected of Aizen-sama, you can still remain calm in this situation. Bordered Soil praised, however, you don't need to find an opportunity to test me, your genjutsu won't work here. Aizen looked to the side. In addition to the two of them, Black Zetsu and Shursui were also in this space. Sealing genjutsu, is this Uchiha boy's ability? Yes. Aizen laughed, your behavior of bribing the Uchiha while attacking the Uchiha is really puzzling. Attacking the Uchiha? Shursui frowned, it seems like he didn't know about such a thing. Bordered Soil's body stiffened, and he smiled, I just injured some people, and this will make Woodleaf trust the Uchiha more. After saying that, he quickly changed the topic, Zetsu, put me down quickly. Black Zetsu laughed twice, I thought you were enjoying the process of being tied up. Looking at Bordered Soil, who was put down, Aizen asked thoughtfully, it took you almost 2 seconds to come out, you should have been beaten by them, right? Bordered Soil's mouth twitched, and he looked down at the black trench coat he was wearing. What uniform, it's really... Bordered Soil sighed. If it weren't for the same clothes, he wouldn't have been mistaken. However, looking at Aizen, who was tied up, he felt that it was all worth it. Finally, he tricked the other party into his space. Aizen looked around calmly, it seems that you have already planned to betray the organization? Bordered Soil shook his head slightly, don't make it sound so bad. I just want the Akatsuki to return to its original path. Aizen didn't deny it. I'm a little confused. I don't think you're lying. Why don't you wait until we catch the Kyubi? Bordered Soil couldn't figure out Aizen's condition. He knew his opponent's swordsmanship was strong, but Aizen didn't have a sword with him. Black Zetsu had used a strengthened version of wood release to bind Aizen. He shouldn't have been able to break free. However, when he heard the other party's confident tone, he was a little uncertain. Anyway, Black Zetsu's spores still need some time to work. I'll just chat with him. After making up his mind, Bordered Soil explained, because I never intended to capture Ninetails directly from the start. Speaking of which, I have to thank you for that. Thank me? Yeah. Bordered Soil nodded emotionally. The Edo reincarnation technique you told me about has made up for the most important part. Edo reincarnation technique? Shursui was shocked. Didn't the Akatsuki use Naruto to threaten the forbidden technique failed 4 years ago? Shursui didn't speak, he just silently remembered this information in his heart. Aizen pondered for a moment and said, I heard that the Ginkaku and Ginkaku brothers of Yunnan once ate the Kyubi's flesh and obtained the Kyubi's chakra. You want to use them as temporary replacements, right? Bordered Soil was surprised and couldn't help but praise Aizen, as expected of the organization's brain. You analyzed my purpose with just a few words. First, fuse the incomplete Jubi, then use the Jubi's power to capture the Kyubi, and finally make up for the rest of the Jubi. This was their real plan. With that said, Aizen sighed. The Kyubi's power is too strong, and the difficulty of capturing him is far greater than the other tailed beast books. Moreover, Woodleaf's strength isn't comparable to the other shinobi villages. It's almost impossible to capture him in a short time. Aizen pondered, there should be another advantage to doing this, deliberately failing to capture the Kyubi, so that Shimizu Garashi's attention will be focused on Woodleaf. Bordered Soil couldn't help but clap his hands. I really can't hide anything from you. Although the 5 Kage have been transferred away from the village, the remaining Jinchuriki and combat power are not idiots. In my opinion, it would be good if half of this raid is successful. And after this raid, the other villages will inevitably realize that our goal is the Bijou. If Shimizu Garashi is focused on one person, our plan will never succeed. So, the best choice is to let Shimizu Garashi's attention fall on Shinakushina. After all, no matter how much love he has, he still needs to distance himself. There's no reason for him to give up Kushina, who's the best for him, to protect others when all the Jinchuriki are threatened. Aizen listened carefully, then slowly nodded. It's almost as I guessed. Well, it's almost time. His wood clone hidden in the outside world sent a message, the person he was waiting for has arrived. Bordered Soil wondered. What? Then, he saw the bound Aizen dissipate like mist, and another Aizen came out from behind. Seeing this, Bordered Soil couldn't help but regret. You were stalling for time to break free? Aizen couldn't help but laugh. Don't make me laugh. Your acting is full of flaws. I knew there was a problem with you from the beginning. How could I not be prepared? Bordered Soil frowned. Then why did you let me pull you into the space? Did you just want to know my purpose? He couldn't figure out Aizen's intentions. Even if he sealed his genjutsu and couldn't defeat Aizen, he could still leave the space and wait for Aizen to get tired before coming in to clean up the mess. In this case, what's the use of information? Aizen chuckled. Let's play a little game with you. A little game? Oh, you'll know soon enough. Aizen turned into a streamer and rushed forward. So fast. Bordered Soil's pupils suddenly shrank. He used his Mangekyo to the extreme to barely keep up with Aizen's movements. Wood release, thorns. A layer of wood release armor covered him, and outside the armor were sharp thorns that were 20 centimeters long. However, Aizen didn't care about the thorns. He just calmly threw a punch. Bordered Soil was sent flying like a cannonball. Aizen's right hand was also pierced, but it completely recovered in an instant. There wasn't even a drop of blood. Seeing this, the three of them were in disbelief and couldn't help but curse. F*CK, is this recovery ability serious? Are you kidding? How can an illusionist have such an abnormal recovery ability? Aizen laughed. Are you afraid? His body wasn't made of flesh and blood, so he couldn't use the Hashman Tonku or armament haki. But correspondingly, he didn't have the concept of being injured. He didn't even have a vital point. There were only two ways to defeat him. One was to exhaust his energy reserves, and the other was to use a spirit body that was far stronger than his soul to kill him. Chapter 435. However, these two methods were almost impossible. In terms of energy storage, he used the Jubi's core as the core and the dragon vein chakra as the outer shell. The chakra was almost limitless. He could fight for 10 days and nights without breaking a sweat. As for the soul, although this body was only a part of the main body's soul, his soul was extremely powerful. With the Miko's 1,000 years of accumulation, even a part of his soul was terrifying. Furthermore, this body was like an armor that protected his soul. As long as his soul did not leave his body, one would need a soul several times stronger than his to be able to kill him under the protection of the armor. But a soul several times stronger than his. In his opinion, even Samsara wouldn't be able to do it. Hearing Aizen's taunt, Bordered Soil stood up and said fiercely, "Let's attack together. Shursui, use Genjutsu, and Zetsu, use your spores. I'll attack from the front." Shursui and Zetsu moved quickly. Genjutsu, bubble. Spore technique. Wood release, chaos of hell. Aizen calmly dodged their attacks and sighed, "I'm not using Genjutsu because I can only use Genjutsu. It's because it's easier to kill." With that said, he cut off a section of Obito's wood release, cleaned it up casually, and wielded it as a weapon. Not bad. Aizen grabbed his wooden sword and swung it with all his might. Flowing sword, waning moon. In front of him, a huge slash that spanned hundreds of meters whizzed out, cutting the trees that were chasing after him into pieces. Then, the slash rushed toward the three of them like a tsunami without any reduction in power. "No, I can't block it." Bordered Soil's expression changed. He knew that even if his wood release was stacked 10 times, he wouldn't be able to block such an attack. Moreover, the Kamui space was so small that there was nowhere to hide. That's the only way. Bordered Soil's eyes narrowed as he used his power to sweep the three away. The moment the sword arrived, the three were taken away from the Kamui space. Outside, Sandame and the Umbu arrived late. Those bastards actually dared to attack Wood Leaf. Sandame's expression was extremely ugly. According to Garashi's clone, the other shinobi villages were also attacked. Minato said with a solemn expression. "What? The Akatsuki is crazy enough to attack all 5 great shinobi villages at the same time." Sandame-sama couldn't believe it and asked, "By the way, where is Garashi?" Seeing that the enemy has fled, Garashi also left. He has to hurry to support other ninja villages. After that, Minato added, according to Garashi, the people who were attacked in other villages were all Jinchuriki. It can be seen that the Akatsuki organization's target is precisely them. This time, they are using the 5 Kages to lure away the 5 Kages so that they can attack the Jinchuriki of each village. Using the 5 Kages conference as a diversion. Sandame-sama was still somewhat puzzled. The 5 Kages conference wasn't held by the Akatsuki, so how could it be diverted? However, before he could ask any questions, space fluctuated, and 3 people wearing black trench coats with red clouds appeared in the crowd. Everyone looked at each other and couldn't react for a while. Bordered Soil, seeing Kakashi, Asuma, and the others in the crowd, reacted quickly and took them back to the space. Only then did everyone realize what had happened. Are those 3 people from the Akatsuki? Damn it, they dared to come back. Is this a direct provocation? Itachi in the crowd had a complicated expression, shock, and anger. Most of the other people's attention may fall on the masked man, but they didn't pay attention to the person behind the masked man, but Itachi recognized the other person's identity, Uchiha Shursui. Shursui, Why are you with someone who wants to kill Sasuke? Kamui space. Bordered Soil deliberately chose the coordinates behind Aizen, and the moment he appeared, he pierced Aizen's chest with wood release. Seeing this, Obito breathed a sigh of relief. Success, he wasn't worried about killing Aizen. He was also saved by Black Zetsu on the battlefield. As long as he was treated in time, he would be fine. However, Aizen sent him flying with a backhand slap. Bordered Soil, who flew upside down in midair, spat out a big mouthful of blood, and looked at Aizen in disbelief. What? You're okay? In his horrified eyes, the hole in Aizen's chest instantly recovered, and he didn't look injured at all. Shisui couldn't help but take a deep breath. What kind of monster was he fighting? Powerful genjutsu, powerful kenjutsu, and an immortal body. Immortal body. Shisui frowned slightly. He suddenly remembered that there was a monster in the school with an immortal body, but he failed the will of fire every year and was held back for several years. Compared to Bordered Soil, Black Zetsu's state of mind was much calmer. For someone as knowledgeable as him, an immortal body was far from terrifying. However, Bordered Soil's plan is going to be troublesome. Black Zetsu sighed. Leaving Aizen in the space was the last resort because it would cripple Bordered Soil's ability. At least until Aizen's stamina ran out. But the problem was that they didn't know how much water and food Aizen had stored in his scroll. What if Aizen had enough supplies to last him for half a year? Wouldn't they be dead? What if Aizen couldn't use Kamui even after the Fourth War? While Shisui and Black Zetsu were shocked, a cry of grief and indignation woke them up. Where is your interference? The two of them regained their senses and saw Aizen beating Obito up. Bordered Soil was angry. He wanted to use Kamui to hide in the real world. But the problem was that Aizen was holding him. If he returned to the real world, wouldn't he bring Aizen back with him? Even if he didn't bring Aizen back, he was worried that Black Zetsu would be dead by the time he returned. So he resisted the urge to use his ability. But those two idiots were just standing there in a daze. Black Zetsu pursed his lips. His spirit is too strong. My genjutsu doesn't work on him. Black Zetsu also said. His perception is too sharp. The spores I released were destroyed before they even got close. Damn, these two guys are really unreliable. I can only use my last resort. Bordered Soil used wood release to protect his vitals. But how do I make him let me go? As Bordered Soil was struggling, an unstoppable force hit his mask and sent him flying. Bordered Soil wasn't angry. He was happy. This idiot took the initiative to loosen his control on me. Great, then there was a cracking sound. His mask cracked and fell to the ground. Chapter 436. Hearing the sound of the mask breaking, Shisui looked at Uchiha Madara and frowned. According to the records of the clan, Uchiha Madara shouldn't look like this, right? Although the hairstyle is quite similar. However, the appearance of the other party seems to be similar to a clan brother in his childhood memory. But that clan brother should be dead a long time ago. Bordered Soil was also taken aback, but he quickly calmed down. Before he died, he was just a nobody, so Aizen shouldn't recognize him. As long as he is calm enough, Aizen shouldn't doubt his identity. Aizen didn't give him much time to think. As soon as the mask fell to the ground, Aizen used another slash. Bordered Soil didn't dare to be negligent and used his dojutsu to take the two away as fast as possible. I will be back. After that, the three disappeared in a whirlpool. Looking at the empty Kamui space, Aizen's eyes were very calm. Trapped here? No way. Even Kagaya's primordial sphere couldn't stop the summoning technique, not to mention Bordered Soil's Kamui space. However, before leaving the space, I can leave a doppelganger here and act as a nail in the door. Outside. It's only been a few seconds since the Akatsuki's provocation, and everyone was still venting their dissatisfaction. Why didn't the Akatsuki react when they came in and out? What are the students doing? If they dare to appear again, I will break their heads. Then, the three members of the Akatsuki came again. Everyone looked at each other, they didn't expect such a situation. Looking at the familiar faces around him, Bordered Soil was stunned, and an indescribable fear surged in his heart. This shouldn't be, I didn't choose the exit coordinates at all. His void form didn't just stop at the same spot, but after he moved into the God Power space, he could use the other part where the God Power space overlapped with the modern world as an exit. With the place where he had turned into the void as the starting point, the place that the God Might space could cover was the place where he could appear. But why did he appear in the same place? Right, it's him. Bordered Soil thought of Aizen's words. It's about time. Let's play a little game. His heart felt like it was being squeezed by someone's hand. He couldn't breathe. Because I brought Shursui out, the illusion domain lost its effect. So, at the last moment, he used illusions to blur my senses, causing the coordinates I chose to be before the crowd. But how did he know I didn't want to face these people? Or does he just want me to get caught? Not only was he distracted, but the Sandaime and the others were also stunned. This guy really came back? Sandaime was dumbfounded. He had thought of waiting for him to come back, but he felt that it would be stupid. Who would have thought that someone would be so stupid? What surprised him even more was that Kakashi, Asuma, and the others shouted in surprise and anger, Bordered Soil. Minato and Shina Kushina were also in disbelief. Bordered Soil, how could it be you? The surrounding Uchiha clansmen were also in disbelief. He is Bordered Soil of the Uchiha clan? Didn't they say that Bordered Soil of the Uchiha clan fought bravely and sacrificed himself in the Third Shinobi War? How could it be him? Bordered Soil, Bordered Soil, Bordered Soil. These voices echoed in Bordered Soil's mind like a nightmare, and those contemptuous and hateful gazes were like poisonous snakes gnawing at his heart. Get out of my way. Bordered Soil roared hysterically, and with the fastest speed, he took the two behind him and returned to the Kamui space. Although using the Kamui space to jump may cause him to be attacked by Aizen, Kuroto didn't care that much. He just wanted to escape from this world. Fortunately, Aizen didn't expect them to return, and by the time he reacted, Bordered Soil had already completed the space jump. Black Zetsu looked at Bordered Soil's back with a gloomy expression. Bordered Soil is already crippled. Even if he can escape, with Shimizu Garashi's wisdom, he will be able to guess his purpose, and then announce the fact that Rin is not dead. Bordered Soil, don't blame me. Shursue's mood was also complicated. He really is Bordered Soil's cousin. Didn't he die a long time ago? Also, when I heard the words Bordered Soil, I couldn't help but look up. Maybe someone discovered my identity. Outside, everyone was still immersed in the previous shock, and even forgot to chase after Kuroto. Sandaime approached Minato and asked in a low voice, with your reaction, you should have been able to stop him. So, he really is your disciple, and you deliberately let him go? Minato was silent for a moment and shook his head slightly. I'm not that pedantic. I let him go because I left the Flying Thunder God technique on Bordered Soil's body, and it won't disappear. We can use him to find the enemy's base. Although Minato's expression was calm, Sandaime could hear his trembling voice. Being betrayed by a disciple, and even hated as an enemy, this kind of feeling must not be good. Sandaime didn't say much, he just patted Minato's shoulder. How could he not feel the same way? Tsunade resented him for acquiescing to Danzo's experiment on Shodaime's body, Orochimaru didn't like him for obstructing his pursuit of immortality, and even Jiraiya gradually drifted away from him. However, he was somewhat comforted. At least no disciple wants to kill me. Kakashi's face was pale, he touched his left eye, he couldn't accept it for a while. How could he be Bordered Soil? Asuma hesitated and said, could it be a transformation technique? He deliberately turned into Bordered Soil's appearance to disturb our minds and escape. Kakashi shook his head. What kind of transformation technique can deceive so many Sharingans? Although I don't want to admit it, he is indeed Bordered Soil. Listening to the disdainful and indignant voices around him, Asuma sighed. Although I don't know why it is like this, fortunately, Bordered Soil's grandmother passed away a few years ago, otherwise, it would be very uncomfortable to be despised by so many people. Fugaku was so angry that he almost suffered internal injuries. He endured for so many years, he was obviously strong, but he always kept a low profile in order to protect the Uchiha. But the result? In exchange, 2 Uchiha attacked the Uchiha. Although most people only noticed bordered soil, Shirsue's performance must have been seen by others. 2 people from the Uchiha clan have joined the Akatsuki, and bordered soil is the one who manipulated the Kyuubi's chaos. We will definitely be punished by Naruto after this. Fugaku's face was dignified. Although the Uchiha were also the victims of this incident, in general, no one died, and Garashi also said that the goal of the Akatsuki was the Jinchuriki. It seems that the Uchiha were implicated by Shinakushina, but in fact, why did the Akatsuki choose to attack when Shinakushina was in his house? Why didn't they catch Naruto, who seemed easier to catch to threaten him? If you think about it deeply, you can think of a lot of conspiracies. Damn, why do you all want to force me? Chapter 437. He fled back to the underground base in the land of grass. Obito looked at Shisui, who had a complicated expression on his face, and said, "You go and rest first, I will tell you about the next plan later." Shisui nodded silently. He also needed some time to sort out the information he gained today. After he left, Bordered Soil asked, "Black Zetsu, what should we do now?" Although Aizen is trapped, many people saw him disappear with me. And you, who didn't participate in the battle, appeared with me. It's easy to guess that we ambushed him. In other words, the Akatsuki can't go back now. Black Zetsu sighed and nodded. Unless we can subdue Aizen before Yahiko can react, we can only defect. Defect? Bordered Soil laughed at himself. Even the Akatsuki that accommodates defected ninjas let us defect. Where else can we go? Now, there is only one way out. Black Zetsu's expression was stern. What way out? Bordered Soil asked anxiously. Return to Woodleaf. Black Zetsu said, "Put all the blame on me, with Shimizu Garashi and Namikaze Minato, return to Woodleaf?" Bordered Soil thought of the disdainful eyes he saw today, and the hateful voices he heard. He shook his head in horror. No, absolutely not. Don't you want to create a world with Rin? As long as you return to Woodleaf, there will be hope. Black Zetsu said, "Wait until Akatsuki collects the Ichibi to the Hachibi, then use Woodleaf's power to snatch the Rinnegan." Bordered Soil covered his ears and shouted, "Enough, don't say any more. I will find a way by myself." "Oh, you really disappoint me, Bordered Soil." Looking at the Bordered Soil, Black Zetsu sighed. "I didn't want to do it myself. After all, it's too difficult to disguise myself in front of a monster like Shimizu Garashi." Bordered Soil was covering his ears, so he didn't hear clearly. "What disguise?" "That's right, disguise as you." After saying that, Black Zetsu punched through Bordered Soil's lower abdomen. In front of Bordered Soil's incredulous eyes, Black Zetsu turned into a thick black ink that wrapped around his body. "Ah, ah." Bordered Soil roared unwillingly. "Why did you do this?" "Why?" "Don't blame me, Bordered Soil." The thick ink covered 2/3 of the Bordered Soil's body. It spoke in his voice, "Who told you to expose your identity?" Bordered Soil could not understand. "Just because my identity was exposed, you want to possess me? Are you crazy?" Black Zetsu sighed. "I'm not crazy, I just predicted that you would betray me." Bordered Soil was so angry that he laughed. "Betray? At this point, how could I betray you? Really? Can you even ignore the news that Rin is alive?" Black Zetsu joked. Obito was stunned as if he had been struck by lightning. He didn't even realize that Black Zetsu was corroding his body faster. Then, his soul violently fluctuated. "Impossible, you must be lying to me, right? Sanbai has experienced the process of death and resurrection. How can Rin, as a Jinchuriki, not die? Idiot. You have been with Madara for so long, and you can even understand the ability of resurrection. Why can't you accept that a Jinchuriki can live without a tailed beast?" Black Zetsu sneered. It's not the same. Bordered Soil shook his head vigorously. Rinnegan is the ability of the Six Paths Sage, but Rin is just an ordinary person. She is indeed just an ordinary person. But what about Shimizu Garashi? Black Zetsu continued to attack Bordered Soil's psychological defense. Don't forget, we left because we sensed the arrival of Shimizu Garashi. With his ability, it's not surprising that he saved Rin. Let me tell you one more thing. 4 years ago, I did intend to destroy Rin's body, but when I opened the coffin, there was nothing inside. Bordered Soil's brain was in a mess, and he instinctively found excuses for himself. If Rin is still alive, why hasn't she appeared? Should I say that you are slow or stupid? Black Zetsu sneered. Don't you think it's strange why Kakashi was so interested in the resurrection of Sanbai 4 years ago? Why did Kakashi suffer to that extent after you killed Sanbai? Bordered Soil had a faint guess in his heart, and his voice trembled. Is it because Rin's resurrection is not complete, and Sanbai is the key to her resurrection? Black Zetsu spared no effort to attack him. Now, you should understand what you have done, right? It's me, I killed Rin's hope of resurrection with my own hands. Bordered Soil's eyes were blank, and he muttered to himself in a daze. At this moment, half of his body was occupied by Black Zetsu, and his whole body was as black as ink, leaving only his eyes exposed. But Obito didn't notice it, and just kept on muttering, what the hell am I doing when I'm a trash? It turns out that from the beginning to the end, I was the only one who was hindering Rin's resurrection. Everyone was working hard for Rin's resurrection, and I was the only one who was fooled like an idiot. No, I should say that I am an idiot. Also, since Rin is not dead, then what about the things I did to Minato-sensei and Shinakushina Jijia? A scum like me is not worthy of calling them that. Yes, a scum like you is not worthy of living in this world. Black Zetsu said in his ear. Give me your body, and I will help you finish the rest of the journey. This voice woke Bordered Soil up, and he struggled to ask, what do you want to do with my body? Didn't I say it already? Black Zetsu laughed. I will use your body to atone for my sins, and then return to them as a person who has realized his mistake, and use them to realize my dream. Damn it. I will not let you do as you wish. I have made so many mistakes, and I will not make any more. Bordered Soil roared. You have almost turned into my shape, what are you going to use to fight me? Black Zetsu disdained, and then smiled maliciously. Watch from hell, I will replace everything you have, and in the future, your friends will be my friends, your sensei will be my sensei, and your Rin will be my Rin, ahahaha. Bordered Soil was only roaring at first, like a drowning man splashing water, but when he heard the last sentence, the anger in his heart almost burned his whole body, and his will became countless times stronger. Damned bastard, I won't let you succeed. Under the pressure of this terrifying will, the black ink that occupied his body retreated like the tide, and began to dissipate from his face little by little. It shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't be like this. Black Zetsu's voice sounded panicked, and his voice became smaller and smaller until it was almost inaudible. In the end, only his last roar echoed in the room. I lost to a perverted pervert who only knows women? You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.